Kincade, Andrew Salciunas. This is Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
A bye week is great for you to get healthy, your football team. It's also probably a good week to get your crap together. So hopefully the Eagles do that. Also, the Phillies begin their playoffs on Saturday. And there's a strong chance that they are playing a team that's not that far from here. Oh, Johnny, this is going to be an interesting day today. It's Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
This is Kincade and Salciunas.
Every player, every coach, Howie Roseman, in terms of a roster before the season started, everything about the Philadelphia Eagles yesterday was bad.
Watching Jalen Hurts play. Can it be corrected? Sure. Right now, this team has a quarterback problem.
Kincade and Salciunas. John Kincade, Andrew Salciunas.
97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
And a good Wednesday morning, Philadelphia. I'm Andrew Salciunas alongside my man, John Kincade. Johnny, good morning.
I'm looking forward to this morning, so it's a good, positive morning.
Well, it might not end up being a fun, positive conversation. At least I don't know. It could turn positive, or there could be a lot of beefs.
There could be a lot of
There could be a lot of beefs, Johnny.
I fully expect that this morning is going to bring a lot of fireworks.
Yep.
And I fully expect, too, that there are going to be people who say John or Andrew or otherwise they're out of their minds with what they're going to say. But I also say that I understand why somebody would say it to me.
Okay.
I don't care.
I do believe majority of people will agree with us. The vast majority will agree with us.
I would say that, except for, and I didn't share them with you, except for the deep dive of social media that I did on this topic. And just 5 months ago, I heard the weakest performance ever by the Philadelphia fan base as a whole.
All right.
Is what I will say.
Around 6:15, so not long. This segment.
Not long.
This segment,
just stick with us.
Maybe even a little bit sooner, we'll get into it. But
we're going to get into it.
We're going to get into it, man. It's going to be an interesting conversation. But we're going to start off with the Eagles because I'm worried, John. When I pitched that topic to you the other day about whether or not the Eagles were heading toward being a dysfunctional franchise or if they would turn things around, and not turn things around after this year. No, turn things around after the bye week. You said that they were already at dysfunction. I have not gotten to that point just yet.
I wonder when you're going to arrive. So what I've done is I've cleared a table for you.
Okay.
We got a little couch. And you and Connor, it's like sort of one of those L couches. So if Connor wants to, sort of spread out a little bit, little coffee table for you, put your cocktails on it, because you're going to get where I'm at. You're going to get there. I'm just waiting for you to arrive. And the guy at the door, your names are already on the list.
This week is making things worse, and it's only Wednesday at 6 o'clock in the morning. All right, so we knew we were going to be talking about this yesterday. So I'm already I'm getting ready to come to the bar or wherever you're located.
Oh, no, I made it a bar because I knew how else am I going to get Connor there off hours.
That's true.
Fair point.
So I asked that question the other day, and now as this week has continued, again, it's only freaking Wednesday. We've only gone almost not even 72 hours since the Eagles game came to an end when they lost to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And we have had Darius Slay on social media tweeting his resume and then protecting his tweets and then going on the podcast of a player from the mortal enemy, Micah Parsons and the Dallas Cowboys. We've had Jalen Hurts give another poor answer about his sort of communication process with Nick Sirianni. And then Darius Slay continues to talk about everything that happened, and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson posts on his Instagram, one word, damn. Because Darius Slay on Micah Parsons' podcast was talking about Chauncey Gardner-Johnson.
Disrespecting, mocking
his teammate.
And to me, chump move. A chump move.
You don't have to do the podcast, Darius. You don't have to do your podcast, Micah Parsons' podcast. You don't have to do anybody's podcast, especially. It's one thing if he was on a podcast where there was no beef and some guy says, hey, by the way, your teammate Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, he's a very vocal player, but he seems to be struggling a little bit this year. No, he went on a podcast with Micah Parsons, who was beefing with Chauncey Gardner-Johnson leading up to the Buccaneers game. They were having back and forth Instagram lives, ripping each other. And then you go on his podcast and you start talking, not smack.
No, ish.
But you were talking ish.
That is what my daughter said. That is ish.
And then Chauncey Gardner-Johnson goes on Twitter, on Instagram, and posts, damn.
I mean, it is such. Here's what I'm saying to you is the dysfunction that you thought this team may be at on Sunday. Is there anything to make you feel better today? No. It's all been worse.
It's only gotten worse.
It's getting worse because it's a rudderless ship with no veteran leadership, no head coach that can control a room and send a message to knock some heads together.
And he couldn't control it last year for 2 months, but they brought him back.
But the behavior of Darius Slay, then you throw in two stupid, over-under Larry
Isaiah
in the
Rodgers.
secondary. Isaiah Rodgers, who hasn't been good enough to take the field, serves a suspension in the prime of his career because he's such a moron as far as making illegal wagers. It just doesn't even make sense. Then he has the nerve to chirp off and to tell us as fans what we're about and to hide behind tweets that you can't respond to, which is now what Darius Slay's done. We want to talk, but we don't have the guts to have an exchange of ideas.
Right.
It's bad. It's childish. It's chump behavior.
And here's the deal. Like I said in the little open, the bye week is a perfect time to get healthy. AJ needs to get healthy. Devontae needs to get healthy. Lane Johnson needs to get healthy. A lot of guys need to get healthy. And if they do, they could come back against the Cleveland Browns and finally put up the offensive performance that we've been looking for.
I think they may be all like I expect it. But it's more because of the opponent than everything else.
The Eagles themselves.
Correct.
But the bye week can also be used as a time to get your crap together. And, man, it starts with the head coach, obviously. I don't know what kinds of rules and regulations go into the bye week. Obviously, guys don't have to go to the facility. But, man.
No, they don't.
They need a quick come-to-Jesus moment.
A quick one. I don't think you'll see any players at the facility after today.
No, they're not going to be.
And then Thursday, Friday, Saturday. It'll be Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Most likely they may even shift the off day next week to Monday.
Right.
So they're going to get a nice break here to be able to get their backsides out of town. Enjoy some time off.
Yeah,
and by the way.
But you know how it is about just humans. The last time somebody said crap about you, and you may not have seen them for a month, but the second you see them, you go, I remember what that guy said about me about a month ago, right?
Yes.
You don't think Chauncey Gardner-Johnson's going to be sitting on this?
I think
for a week and a half, or a week, and then when they get back to the practice facility and he sees Darius Slay, oh, by the way, not on the offensive side, right? They're in the same meeting rooms. They're in the secondary. When they walk into the same room, you don't think he looks at Darius Slay and goes, I just remember what you said. Like, these things need to be squashed quickly. I'm not overreacting here because
you're not.
This is a continuation of last year. Darius Slay took shots at his own teammates last year, and it's now continuing this year.
You say last year. So this behavior was done in 2024, this year. It was done last year. We all remember that. It was done in 2022. I had to go back and look at it last night because I'm like, I know there was another one.
Oh, I remember it.
It was Christmas Eve.
The Cowboys, right?
Yes. It was the Christmas Eve game.
Was it Josh Jobe?
It was wasn't me. I was where I was supposed to be.
The guy.
That wasn't my guy.
The guy didn't
on the
help
giant
me.
pass.
It was a shot downfield. I think Josh Jobe was playing fill-in safety
Correct.
at
Josh
that time.
Jobe was literally being asked like a fire alarm.
Yeah.
Come on in here and do it. And he publicly went out of his way before his backside got on a plane to throw a teammate under the bus going, not me. Don't blame me. I'm big play. No, I'm Slay. I'm Madonna.
You get hung up on that.
I'm Madonna.
So much, man.
Wait a minute. Who is that? Who? Mahomes? Does Mahomes? Like, seriously, come on, Andrew.
I just care about his personality and his personality of taking shots at his teammates.
I don't care about his nickname either. This Slay crap. Enough. Enough. He's a cartoon. Right now, he is a cartoon character. He is absolutely conducting himself like a cartoon character. He thinks he's a wrestler. He thinks he's some persona that is doing this. And by the way, when your play sucks, when your performance sucks, this doesn't float. When you're playing like garbage,
Yeah, you can't do this.
all this stuff doesn't float. When you want to use social media to be, let me get the word out, and then you lock down your tweets and you lock down your replies, so all anybody can do is just have to listen to you? My God, where are the Tin Man and the Scarecrow?
Yeah, I mean,
Because
look,
that's where you belong. Get on the yellow brick road and just growl at people. That's ridiculous.
so what then comes of this is, oh, stop overreacting. The media is trying to drum some stuff up.
Yes,
and that's what always leads to this conversation. And so we want to actually have a legitimate discussion on this. Does Darius Slay or does any fan who has that belief actually have some, gumption to their belief that it is the media's fault, that we overblow things? I could tell you right away we're not overblowing it when I see Chauncey Gardner-Johnson himself
Correct.
react to Darius Slay going on Micah Parsons' podcast and talking about Chauncey Gardner-Johnson after Micah Parsons and CJ just had a beef, right? Like, think about this from a real-life perspective, our lives. This is a little bit deeper than us because they're football players. We're not. Imagine, your friend and his girlfriend, they break up, and then the next weekend you'll go out, not on a date with her, but you go out to the bar with her and her friends. Wouldn't that look weird? Wouldn't you be pissed off as the dude you just broke up with your girlfriend? You're going, wait a minute.
Like, what are you doing, dude?
Why are you going out with her, man? We just broke up, and you want to stay friends with her instead of friends with me?
I absolutely get where you're coming from.
Chauncey Gardner-Johnson's going, wait a minute, that guy, he and I were just beefing. And you're now going on his podcast and yucking it up like your buddies?
I thought Chauncey Gardner-Johnson showed great restraint. I thought that was great. I think that was the perfect answer. Damn. And nothing else. No further escalation needed. No anything more needed. Just damn.
However, he himself yesterday on his podcast, like Darius Slay, talked about the media. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson did the whole, we're just going to ignore what the media is saying. Which, first off, you should. Like, stay off your phones. Don't pay attention to the stuff that we say, okay? It's only going to make things worse for you. We are a voice for fans, speaking to fans, for the fans, depending on whether people agree with us or not, right? Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, Darius Slay, they don't have to care what we're saying.
And more importantly, if you're Darius Slay or you're Darius and you're Chauncey Gardner-Johnson or wherever, and you give a damn what I say about your football team, then you're in the wrong business. You're in the wrong business. It's like when people get offended, like, oh, let me tell you about radio. Let me tell you about what you should be doing.
Right.
You guys should be talking a lot more union. And we need more. It's Sixers open training camp today. You guys are talking Eagles and the Sixers open training camp. There should be a lot more Sixers talk this morning. I never concern myself worrying about that. If you have conviction of yourself and conviction of your mind, you do what you're supposed to do, and you say, okay, because I never want someone to condescend to me and go, hey, you never played football.
Right.
Why do you have an opinion on it?
Well, clearly Darius Slay's insecure. I mean,
he's totally insecure.
To post the resume after a bad game, that is a pure sign of insecurity.
Dude, locking down your so all you can do is tweet and no one can respond to you except the sycophants that you decide can respond?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I swear, it's like you're like a 15-year-old on Twitter. And you'd be best to put it down. Put down the phone. Darius, put down the phone. Don't be obsessed with your phone and social media and what people are talking about you because you're feeding the beast. It's not the opposite way. None of this crap about the media being the ones who are to blame. You are feeding the beast. You are creating these storylines. We wouldn't have them unless you did them.
Yeah.
Unless you're the one to
it.
provide it, we don't have it. By the way, you ever wonder why Lane Johnson doesn't have any beef with the media? Jordan Mailata? You ever wonder why? You ever wonder why any of those other... Wait. You know why? Because when you don't feed the beast, there's no reaction. because we can only deal with what you do on the field and how you handle yourself. And thankfully, the Eagles have enough professionals in their organization that can balance out some of this childish behavior. It's a joke.
So there's a couple of questions to this, and we'd love to hear from you at 610-632-0975. As we told you, there's going to be some fireworks on the show, and we haven't even gotten to what will probably be even more of a firework discussion.
Yeah.
But do you think there's something to this where we're reaching a boiling point with the Philadelphia Eagles? We asked the question about whether or not they're reaching a level of dysfunction a couple days ago. Now that more days have gone on since the loss to the Buccaneers, and there's only been more drama coming from the Eagles. Nobody's making this stuff up. Like, there's drama that is being made from the players themselves. Do you believe they're kind of at a boiling point right now where it could go in a horrible direction? Or do you believe, and we're grown men, John and I and Connor, do you believe we're making too much of it? And do you believe that we're overblowing it and that it is our fault? We would love to hear from you. We're grown men. We can hear what you guys want to complain about.
And if someone believes that, like Connor, Connor runs this show. I would want them to be center stage.
Sure.
I would want them to have the first opportunity. The last thing we need is someone to say, "Yes, Andrew, I agree with you." If somebody disagrees and has a good civil
you agree
thing,
with me. You can call in.
Well, we know they're smart.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think the key is that if someone disagrees, hey, Gunner will get you on, and you can explain yourself. But just explain this before you, because I'm not accepting it otherwise. They provided the content.
Right, exactly.
Without them, none of this exists.
We didn't throw a dart at the 53-man roster and it land on Darius Slay and say, all right, let's see, is Darius Slay a good teammate or not, 610? Like, no.
Right.
Darius Slay did the podcast. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson reacted to said podcast.
And to me, it's embarrassing to me for an organization that is a really good organization.
Yes.
And it's embarrassing to me that this is going on. To me, Slay has run his course. Darius Slay has run his course.
Well, he ain't going anywhere, man.
No. And by the way, they need him.
Yeah.
Because he's played really good ball for the most part. So they need him.
Yep.
But to me, he's absolutely run his course.
You can text and you can call in 610-632-0975. Connor, I'll get your thoughts on this coming up in a little bit because we do need to get to this other topic too.
I'm anxious to see where we go with the other topic.
Well, I think we're all in agreement here.
I think to degrees. We will be.
I'm going to look into the camera the way you do. You're good at that. You look at the camera when you're making your
when I'm emphatic,
passionate statements.
Yeah, why don't you do that?
You better not sell your tickets. You better not sell your tickets.
That was very good. Dude, like you sounded like you sounded like Cooper.
Oh, if he's doing something, yeah.
Cooper, don't touch that. Do not touch that.
And when I say you better not sell your tickets, we're talking about what could be on Saturday and Sunday, games 1 and 2 of the NLDS, where the Phillies take on the New York Mets.
Yeah, I'm not worried about Laverne and Shirley. There's an old reference for you. Or anybody else coming from Milwaukee.
No.
In for this game. I'm not worried about the bowling team rolling into town from Milwaukee.
Mm-hmm.
It's Met fans. And I said it to you yesterday.
And when you told it to me, I said, I didn't even think about that.
The most embarrassing spectacle, potentially of my entire fandom as a Philly fan, was the Sixers-Knicks series this spring.
When it sounded like the Wells Fargo Center was Madison Square Garden.
It was embarrassing. A complete embarrassment, a complete fool's journey. When we pride ourselves, we bang our chests. We all get so excited about the fact that we are the fan base that comes in. We'll take over your home. In a playoff game, and it was probably 2,000 to 2,500 people in the Wells Fargo. My guess.
Lower bowl. Loud.
But it was loud, it was visible, and it was embarrassing. And to me, it was arguably one of the most embarrassing things that has ever been a part of my Philly fan.
And there's some times where we can give credit to other fan bases. We do travel well. Look, people went to Tampa still, despite
Absolutely,
there being a freaking hurricane.
Well, they got Philly sports trips. So.
You're damn right. But Mets fans, New York fans, who are just as passionate about sports as we are, they travel as well. And I already know that there are tickets on the market available. And you know they're going to get scooped up by Mets fans. Why? Because it's cheaper to go to Citizens Bank Park than it is go to a Mets game.
It is.
And man, I can't see that in an NLDS where we pride ourselves on Red October and Citizens Bank Park being an insane asylum, which is what a lot of people compare it to. I better not see a lot of blue and orange. And the reason why we're having this topic today, before the Mets even win the series, they're up 1-0. They're probably scooping them up now.
Yes, they are. I bet you.
Now, coming up next, we'll get Connor's thoughts on both topics, and he did give a legitimate reason as to why this may have happened during the Sixers season. I didn't agree with it, but I thought it was a legitimate reason. Does that reason hold up Phillies Mets? It's Kincade and Salciunas on what should be a very spirited Wednesday morning. 97.5 The Fanatic.
hour of Kincade and Sal.
6:30 on this Wednesday morning, and Adam Schefter Wednesday morning on Kincade and Salciunas. Shefty will join us at 8 a.m. as he does each and every week. And our topics today, we'll get to the phones and the texts coming up in a little bit at 610-632-0975. My message to the Eagles is that you better get your crap together during this bye week. And the crap is not just X's and O's. The crap is, once again, Jalen Hurts not necessarily giving a ring endorsement for his head coach. The crap is also Darius Slay going on a podcast with a guy that Chauncey Gardner-Johnson was actively beefing with and then still not taking shots at Chauncey Gardner.
Yes, he did. He absolutely.
Do you still have that from yesterday, Connor?
He absolutely threw shade. Come on.
We'll play it for you guys in a second. And again, today's topic is whether or not you think the Eagles are reaching a boiling point, or do you believe we're making too much of this and you think this is the media's fault? Because I know, doing this as long as I have, doing this as long as you have, that the media is usually pointed fingers at, saying, you're doing this. This is your fault.
Chauncey Gardner-Johnson gave you the answer to this question yesterday. He gave you the answer. He's pissed about it. He's like, what the hell's going on here?
So
why is teammate on teammate crime going on?
Here's Darius Slay when he was on with Micah Parsons talking about Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Again, if you don't know the backstory to it, Micah Parsons does his podcast for Bleacher Report. He took shots at Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, who, by the way, has not been playing well this season. And
that's fair.
Chauncey Gardner-Johnson took exception to it, went on Instagram Live, put out a few tweets, ripping Micah Parsons. Parsons then went back at him. They were going back and forth, just like Eagles-Cowboys probably should. But then Darius Slay decides to join Micah Parsons on his podcast, and they talked about the Eagles' safety.
I'm going to still get locked up maybe for a game or a rep. You know, it's just a game of football. It's just how it happened. What's your thought on that, bro? Like,
yeah, hey, one thing I know about 8, man. 8 go bring the noise. 8 go bring the energy. And 8 go bring all the trash talking that half the team's not doing. So he fulfilled that need for us, you know what I'm saying? He a guy with a lot of energy. He go talk that trash, but, you know, hey, you go talk, you got to back it up at some point in time. And if you don't, he know for sure that media go catch it on attention, and he got to be ready to answer every time.
That media's going to catch it, or that you're going to talk about it, because you did.
He talked about it. He's the one talking about it, and it's complete shade.
At some point, you got to back it up, which, by the way, is true. At some point, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson does have to back it up.
If you say that this year, it's absolutely true. Like
he's had a
Chauncey
bad
Gardner-Johnson is not playing well.
He's had a bad 4 weeks of the season, and I'm not revisionist history. I'm pro contract.
How about Reed Blankenship has been better than him every game?
Yeah.
But it's something that a lot of people will throw shade at Reed Blankenship.
Right.
Like, Reed Blankenship has been better than him in every
You're right.
game.
I'll say this: that Baker Mayfield touchdown. Yo, dude.
What the hell?
Tackle him.
Come on now.
Reed Blankenship was put on skates, but whatever. That's that's back on Sunday.
Right.
Our other topic: don't sell your tickets. The Mets fans will travel, and there will be Phillies fans who look at themselves as entrepreneurs this week.
Oh yeah.
I can make a lot of money back. I'm going to upcharge the tickets, and you know what? There will be Mets fans that will buy them. And then if it gets loud in the insane asylum of Citizens Bank Park in favor of the Mets, you're the one that's doing it by selling your tickets. Now, I want to go to Connor, John, because Connor...
He brought up a great point yesterday.
He did. And Connor, I want you to talk about both topics because, first off, the great athlete that you are, you see a lot of things.
Thank you. Okay, wait. I thought you thought we were going to agree on stuff.
Connor, I think, sees things from the athlete's perspective more than most because of your your elite athletic ability that you have.
Exactly.
Do you think this is being overblown, or do you think there is something to this where we're reaching a boiling point? You've heard our conversations this week where we've literally talked about a level of dysfunction, whether they're reaching that or not. So when you hear Darius Slay, and we'll play his response coming up in the next segment, do you believe this is being overblown?
Yeah, I do. But I do think there's But I think there's something to it. Like, I think there's a little bit of something to it. I don't think it's great that he's going on podcasts talking about other players' performance. I don't think it's great that he's done that in the past. I don't think some of the stuff that's coming out from this team right now, the Isaiah Rodgers stuff, Darius Slay's tweets, Devin White liking or retweeting his quarterback getting sacked. Like, all of this stuff is not great. But I do think it's overblown for a reason. Because last year, when the slide started, everything we heard was, weather the storm. Oh, we're saving this stuff. We still have faith. We believe in this. They handled it perfectly for the first couple weeks. And then guess what? They didn't learn how to play football any better. You know what I care about?
Have they been handling this well now?
No, but I don't care what is said because they could be saying all the right things like they did to start last year's collapse.
Okay.
I care about them figuring out how to run a capable offense, take care of the football, tackle, play the right defensive scheme, stop teams from beating them on the football field. We have so many problems on the field right now with the way they played against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and we heard so many good things at points off the field from this team in the midst of the collapse that I don't really care what's said anymore. So I'm not saying you guys are wrong in your evaluation of the way that they're handling it. They're not handling it well. But ultimately, if you play well, you're good. And if you don't play well, you're bad.
He made a really good point in that their words meant nothing about we got it all under control, we'll get it fixed out and everything.
Right.
So the words mean little to you. That is a very salient point.
Okay.
Very salient point. I will buy into that.
And when it comes to the tickets conversation, you had a reason why you think it happened for Sixers-Knicks. Back in what? It would be April and May?
It was April.
Yeah.
I want you to explain why you thought it may have happened.
Because we lost in the first round this time.
I know. I want you to explain why you think Sixers fans sold their tickets, especially to Knicks fans. And then I want you to answer the question, does that hold true for this Phillies and potential Mets series?
Yeah, I mean, just the level of faith in these two organizations is totally different right now. I know there are people who are worried about the Phillies postseason collapses, and I'm saying that while I'm making the air quotes. Last year, yeah, they completely, in the NLCS with chances at home, they fell to a team they should not have. But the year before, they went to the World Series when you didn't expect them to. So when I look at the faith that this fan base has in this Phillies team compared to the way that we react to anything that happens with the Sixers because of their multiple second-round exits, and this past year a first-round exit, and Embiid's always hurt, and Doc Rivers didn't know what he was doing, and Brett Brown didn't know he was... The level of faith in these organizations is totally different to me with the fan base in this city. And I think that's part of the reason why people were willing to give up their tickets to that Sixers series against the Knicks, because people don't view the Sixers the way they view the Phillies right now.
So are you saying you do not expect the Mets takeover if they come here?
I don't expect it to be to the extent that the Knicks took over the Wells Fargo Center. But I can't say for sure because I know there's always going to be a portion of
there's also more there's also more seats, which means more chances.
If there's roughly 40,000 people will be in that building Saturday and Sunday.
Oh, it's going to be 46, man.
Yeah.
40 walk 5, and then, standing room. There's probably going to be 46,000 people.
Add two more for the guy standing on the roof. Remember those
that's
dudes?
right, yeah.
Yeah, if it happens, it's a freaking embarrassment for this city.
Well,
if we're hearing let's go Mets chants at any time on the national broadcast, if we're hearing wild cheering for the Mets when something goes well for them, if that happens, that is a freaking embarrassment.
Now, let me ask.
You drown them out.
Well,
you drown them out. You have 35,000 of you. You don't sit on your hands and act like a bunch of babies because, like yesterday, we were talking about the Baltimore game. You guys love the Baltimore-Kansas City game.
Yes.
I thought it had zero atmosphere. And Connor made the good point of, well, they gagged it away last year.
They were nervous.
These
the game itself was great.
I do not understand the mentality of going to a playoff game.
Playoffs.
Paying a fortune to go to a playoff game. And I'm going to be so nervous that I'm going to sit there and be like scared. And I'm not going to cheer for my team and I'm not going to make noise. I swear to you, people are freaking babies.
But that's
like you're at a game. You're at a game.
John, that's not
Cheer.
the conversation, though.
No,
the
but
conversation, I know what you're saying.
No, but the Mets fans, you can drown them out.
I'll tell you right now, I don't think Citizens Bank Park will be quiet. I feel very confident
So you
in saying
think they will drown out the Met fans?
Yeah, well...
Forget drown out. Will there be Mets fans that drown out?
That's the
there
question.
will be.
All right, and that's a problem.
I already know there will be because I know people and just doing it, and we'll do it later, doing a deep dive on all the excuses that were offered in that Sixers series. All the cavalcade of excuses. I read them, and they seem more stupid to me today.
Now, do those
than they did then.
does those excuses carry over to this? It's basically the same thing. Sixers, Knicks is Phillies, Mets, right? Just two different sports.
You want me to give you like one of the biggest ones I
Give
had?
me one of the excuses.
I'm going to sell my tickets now so I can afford to pay for tickets in the next round.
Yeah, that's a horrible.
That was
horrible.
By the way, that was the number one on my social media when we discussed it on this radio station. That was the number one lame-ass excuse that was being offered for, look, I pay a fortune for my tickets. I can sell those tickets to Knicks fans, and then the next round I'll be in. Well, you know what? I don't need you in the next round. I don't need you there.
Well, the next round didn't happen.
And then there was the economy's really hard.
Yeah.
So this is a chance for me to make some money. Dude, if you're a season ticket holder, the economy ain't that hard for you. Bottom line, you're spending your money on the wrong things. If you're going to lecture me that the economy's so hard and you have season tickets to a sports team,
You must be doing all right.
you absolutely never took an economics class. I can help you with all that. I'll get you a Dave Ramsey book, and we'll teach you a little bit about money.
All right, so coming up next, we start to hear from you at 610-632-0975. Are we at a boiling point when it comes to the Eagles and the stuff that's going on off the field, or do you think it is being a little overblown by the media? I know how a lot of people feel when it comes to the media's relationship with the teams. And when it comes to the selling your tickets discussion, look, open forum. If you are going to sell your tickets to Mets fans, feel free to try to explain yourself. But I'm telling you right now, you're wrong for doing it. You'll also hear from Darius Slay, his response to all the criticism that he's got since going on
Darius
Micah Parsons'
Slay.
podcast.
Very good, yeah.
It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Now is the time to become a Fanatic MVP. Go right now to
Adam Schefter Wednesday morning. Shefty will join us coming up at 8 o'clock. I wonder if he can circle back. Remember last week, we asked him about the play calling stuff with Sirianni and how it's a collaborative effort, and it seems like in-game, Nick Sirianni every once in a while makes a decision, and Shefty himself said if Kellen Moore had truth serum, he would not like that. He told us that he would do some digging.
I can't wait to, because I guarantee he had his shovel out.
Yes.
I guarantee you.
Oh, absolutely. So Shefty will be joining us coming up at 8 o'clock. All right, well, let's get to the phones. We'll get to the text messages as well.
Sure.
610-632-0975. Is it the media's fault for overblowing? This is some of the words that you see on social media. The Darius Slay comments on Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, and then Chauncey Gardner-Johnson himself, by the way, with the Instagram post of damn, ...
He told you what he thought of it.
Is it the media's fault, or are we actually reaching a boiling point when it comes to this football team? And then this selling of tickets conversation, I think, is one that we can have all show long. Mets are up 1-0 in that series.
I mean, it's
there
just
are Mets fans that are already going to start buying tickets.
They're on the precipice right now, and the tickets are there.
Don't sell them.
Boy, they're expensive, too.
I'm sure they are. All right, let's go to Jerry in Reading, and then you'll hear from Darius Slay himself. Jerry, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic.
What's up, guys?
Hi, Jerry.
My opinion is this is Slay's an idiot. Obviously, he shouldn't be saying that kind of stuff. But this is 100% media driven. This is what you guys do, and this is how you guys are employed. You pump up, you pump up, you pump up, you pump up all this stuff. You've turned sports in Philadelphia into TMZ. Is what you've done. It's not about sports anymore. It's about all the background stuff. It's about should we fire Sirianni because he's involved in play calling. I mean, he's the head coach. If you look at Kellen Moore's offense that he's running right now, it's not the same offense. All you got to do is go on YouTube and look it up.
Yeah. So
and by the way, we talked about that at length yesterday.
So how is that
not a story?
TMZ?
How is that TMZ?
Because it's not about you're not talking about the game. You're talking about all the stuff surrounding the game.
Well, hold on a
That's what
second.
you talk about.
The
You don't break down
Monday
game.
after a game, we obviously
You guys do not break down the game. You guys break down the game the day after on Mondays or whatever day you do it.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the stuff is filled with drama and gossip.
Because
creates it?
it is created, Jerry.
You guys act like you're the voice of the fans. Do you think the fans want to talk about that kind of stuff? No fan wants to talk about that.
I see it all
Really?
over social media. I
Really?
see people tweeting about Darius Slay constantly because they don't like him.
By the way, he was
listen to your show. That's
Jerry,
why.
he's been
You're
trending.
in the bubble.
Jerry,
You're in the bubble.
Jerry, he's been trending. He's trended the last 3 days because of all this stuff. Because of us or because of him?
It is because of him. You're talking about 3 guys right now.
So you're saying should we ignore him? Jerry.
Yes, you should ignore him. Yes, because this guy's a clown. You're
Okay,
talking about
Jerry,
three
it's
guys.
Wednesday morning. What should we be talking about? I'm fascinated.
I don't know. You want to talk? You want to slam Sirianni and all this stuff.
No, Jerry.
Hold on a second.
If you're
You're not gonna
telling us,
talk.
Jerry, wait a minute,
You
Jerry,
don't want me to talk.
have a conversation.
I'm trying.
You're not listening.
All right.
I'm asking you. If you say we shouldn't be talking about Sirianni and his problems, and we shouldn't be talking about Darius Slay, could you please tell me in a bye week what we should be talking about with the Eagles?
Okay. We should talk about the Eagles. If you're talking about Philadelphia sports in general.
No,
okay?
Eagles.
Talking about
Eagles.
Talking about the Eagles. Okay? You're talking about a guy, Sirianni.
No, what should we be talking about?
I'm trying to tell you. You keep cutting me off because you don't want to hear it.
Go ahead, Jerry.
You're talking about a guy who you want fired, right? You call him a buffoon. He doesn't do
No,
anything.
you're not telling me what we should be talking about
I'm
otherwise.
trying to tell you,
You're
you
not.
All right, just let him go, John. Let him go.
Come on.
Go ahead, Jerry.
He doesn't want to hear it. You're talking about a guy you want fired, right? And all this other stuff. He's done the same exact thing that Rob Thompson's done, with less, by the way. You don't say you crush Hurts. You say nothing about Harvard because.
All right, so you see.
So
all
what
right,
should we be? That won't answer the question. Exactly what I'm saying.
I
He's
know.
not
I
answering
know.
the
I was
question.
trying to give him a chance. I thought he was going to get to a
Because
point.
I'll get to it. No, you won't, because you didn't have it. Because when I challenged him on what we should be talking about, he didn't have an answer.
Yeah, look, listen.
Come on.
we watch football the same way you guys do, right? So I could do a whole show breaking down plays and breaking down schemes, which we did on Monday. I hated Kellen Moore's scheme. Do I want Kellen Moore fired? No. I hated Kellen Moore's scheme. What Kellen Moore didn't do is what the Buccaneers did, and that's what I wanted the Eagles to do. Get the ball out quick, right? You're missing your top weapons. You're missing your right tackle. Jalen Hurts should not be doing seven-step dropbacks, 4 seconds to throw the football out. Get the ball out quick. We talked about this leading up to the game. We talked about this reacting to the game. But, yes, part of our job is also the entertainment portion of it, so that's where he gets the TMZ thing from. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, the teammate of Darius Slay, reacted to Darius Slay. Not just us. So if you want to rip us for reacting to Darius Slay, then rip Chauncey Gardner-Johnson for reacting to Darius Slay. But you're not going to do that because you just want to talk about football. You want to just talk about football from Chauncey Gardner-Johnson's standpoint? He's been horrible through 4 weeks. Do I want him released? No, he's been bad. Why do I want Nick Sirianni fired? Because I didn't want him to come back last year because I thought he did a horrible job as the head coach of this football team. And clearly, he's doing a horrible job as the head coach of this football team through 4 weeks this season. That's not TMZ. That's reality, Jerry.
The TMZ content has to be created by the players. We can't create it because we're not celebrities. We're not the focal point of a fan base. We're people who comment on what's going on.
And we're not making it up, dude.
If Chauncey Gardner-Johnson doesn't give us content, if Darius Slay doesn't give us content, if Isaiah Rodgers doesn't give us content, none of those stories are discussed on here, and none of them are being – we're not out there creating them.
You don't think I want to just talk about Phil's and maybe Mets on Saturday, Phil's Brewers on Saturday?
Can't wait.
I would love to do that. But there's too much going on with this Eagles team that we just saw have a historic collapse last year and have been a disappointment through 4 weeks this season. Here, all right, we'll play Darius Slay's clip coming up next because Darius Slay responded to all the reaction that he got from going on Micah Parsons' podcast. Also, from a football standpoint, Jerry, don't you worry. I have stuff here because the coordinator spoke yesterday. And both of them said stuff football-related that made me say what and duh.
What and duh.
Yep. You'll hear from Fangio and Kellen Moore next, following that bad football game that took place in Tampa on Sunday. And, of course, more of your reactions, 610-632-0975. It's Kincade and Salciunas on this Adam Schefter Wednesday morning, 97.5 The Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. Coming up at 8 o'clock, 1 hour from now, Adam Schefter will join us, as he does each and every Wednesday. You're going to hear some audio from Vic Fangio and Kellen Moore in about 10 minutes that had me saying what and duh. Those were my responses to those answers. And
what and duh.
Yeah, I'll play them for you coming
Okay.
up. And I'm sure you might have similar responses. Obviously, we'll expand on it because we have to talk for a living. So me just saying what and duh would not necessarily be great radio.
It may summarize, though, exactly how you're feeling.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's also not great radio to just react to a game for a whole week. So
let's break down the game.
I'm not trying to take shots at our man Jerry from Reading, who called in last segment, but we gave him opportunities to try to tell us what to talk about, and he couldn't. And that's the thing. It's not like these things are made up. So Darius Slay, following all the reaction, not by Kincade and Salciunas and the Mike Missanelli show and the best show ever. No, from Eagles fans.
Those are good choices, though.
National media members, by the way. I saw the LaShawn McCoy show with
on Fox.
I forget who else is on that show. They were upset by it because he went on with a player from a rival team. Like, that's the other thing. It's not like he was on
ridiculous.
With some random dude. He was on with Michael Parsons.
I had one of our fine listeners that got a real good dude. I respond to William. Let me see. William Spencer. He says, look, you come on. He goes, what Slay said is fact. You don't get to talk trash and then sneak back into the shadows. Okay, that's fine. But he doesn't have to air dirty laundry. Like, this stuff doesn't get, you don't rip a teammate.
Let Chauncey Gardner-Johnson do it.
My God.
Let him do it. Like let him speak for himself. Why are you going on a podcast with Micah Parsons and saying things? And of course, when he does this, when he did the stuff he did last year, you mentioned it, John, you brought it up. I forgot 2022 when he gives up a touchdown and he goes, "That wasn't me."
On Christmas Eve.
And he blames Josh Jobe.
Yep.
People question why he has the C on his chest. And by the way, he's voted. Let's make this fair. Nick Sirianni doesn't pick the captains. His teammates vote. So clearly there is a level of respect for Darius Slay inside NovaCare. We know that because they vote for the captains. Here's Darius Slay, his reaction on his podcast, and then we'll get to the text messages coming up from all the backlash that he received for what he did on the Twitter account and, of course, also joining Micah Parsons on the podcast.
Everybody, I done seen the comments. You know, it's noticeable. I see it all day. You know, yes, I turn off my comments on Twitter. I did a lot of stuff, man, because it's just like, hey, we are human. Y'all can get to us, too. So I got to just ignore some of that kind of stuff. But for people to say that, hey, take the C off your chest, Slade, because of this. Like, I lead in a different type of way. I'm not a big vocal guy like Hurts. You know, Hurts, y'all see Hurts all the time. Y'all say he got serious face and that. I am the joyful side of the team, of the leadership. I'm a guy that's going to put smiles on your face. You know, so I bring a different type of energy that the team needs. I try to lead by example by just working hard and doing the best of my ability to let me do what I need to do to be prepared for the game. But yeah, man, so that's what it really is with me with the podcast with Micah. Like, we ain't got a great relationship. I know it's real beef with the organizations and the fan base. I'm with y'all, man. I want to whip the Cowboys' ass every time. And I know how y'all get, man, fans. But Philly fan, please, just trust your boy. I'm here with y'all. I got that C on my chest for a reason.
All right, and look, because his teammates voted upon him, and they probably respect him. Right?
I didn't hate that. I didn't hate that answer. Like, I really didn't hate that answer.
No, but he's got to understand.
He's feeding the flame. He's the one doing this.
I think the hardest thing is I don't think he understands the backlash. Like, he doesn't understand the Eagles-Cowboys thing. He doesn't understand that this isn't the first time where you have talked about your teammates in a not-so-great way
it's 3
publicly.
3 years in a row.
And I don't know what he was doing to Detroit, right? Like, I wasn't following the life of Darius Slay. I followed Darius Slay, the football player, and I was thrilled when they acquired him. And
he was Darius back then.
I'm still happy that he's on this team from a player standpoint.
Yes.
But this isn't the first time since he's been with the Eagles, and it's not the second or third. Like, this happens a lot, where he's taken some shots at his teammates. Now, he keeps on doing it, so maybe nobody in the locker room really cares. But at some point, you're going to get a reaction like you did from Chauncey Gardner-Johnson on his Instagram account when he posts, damn, like he probably feels betrayed.
I don't know why you wouldn't.
What do we got on the...
I mean, seriously, if it was Andrew Salciunas,
hello.
Let's say you did something wrong on the air.
Often.
No, you did something wrong on the air that became like a little mini Philly scandal. We've seen it with radio people in this town from time to time.
Oh, yeah.
and I chose to comment on it. I talked to Crossing Broad. I talked to Channel 6.
Right.
And I choose to comment on it and say, Andrew's got to know better, dude. He's got to that's a really dumb thing for him to do. You know, if you're going to do stuff like that, you got to know better.
By the way, as accurate as that might be, you still don't do it.
Never. It's not teammate. That's not teammate behavior. It's just bad.
All right, so what do we have on the text line? Our two topics today. Is the media overblowing this Darius Slay, and not just Darius Slay, all the potential boiling points that are going on with the Eagles? We're going to get into more about Jalen Hurts later on in the show because the national media responded to Jalen Hurts' lack of a response to Nick Sirianni again. And then the selling of tickets discussion. So, John, I got a tweet before we get to the text line, 610-632-0975. Bruce checks in on Twitter.
What's up, Bruce?
Now, he doesn't have tickets.
Okay.
But he said, if I had tickets and could resell them at a huge mark, I'd do it in a New York minute. Not my problem the Phillies can't hit. Give me that money.
Wow.
That's horrible.
No, if you just
he's just looking for the money.
If you just want to say you're not a fan, and guess what? If you just want to say you're not a fan, you're a fan of money. I'll put money over everything, and doesn't mean
I'd
anything.
respect
to me.
that more.
Just say that. Just say what you are. That's fine.
Connor, what do we got on the text line today on both topics? We warned you this was going to be a fireworks show today.
First-time texter texts in, no name, but they say the Eagles continue to be a very unlikable and dysfunctional team. Everyone is out for themselves, and it starts at the top and trickles down from Jeffrey Lurie, Howie Roseman, Nick Sirianni, Jalen, and Darius.
I like that someone's using his real name.
Look, this team. First off, this team is likable. I love Jordan Mailata, Brandon Graham. There are some likable people, man. Very likable people. But we don't. That's not the stuff that goes viral, right? And again, not just us. The people that retweet, the Eagles fans that retweet negative things, that's the stuff that goes viral. So there are likable factors to this football. I love Saquon Barkley, not just the player.
Saquon,
his leadership,
yes.
everything that you hear him, he says everything correctly. And maybe that should be stuff that we take a couple of minutes to celebrate every once in a while. But that stuff sells. The stuff that is negative.
Whoa. We've celebrated Saquon.
Of course we have.
Over the top. Celebrated Saquon,
of course we
deservingly
have.
so.
But of course, that's the stuff that's going to go viral, the Darius Slay stuff, the Chauncey Gardner-Johnson stuff. And so to the texter's point, are they becoming an unlikable team? I'm not going to go that far, but are there things that are happening right now that we know about and maybe some things that we don't know about that could be part of the reason why they look miserable again?
Yes.
Dan Orlovsky, I'll remind you, we played the clip on yesterday. Dan Orlovsky broke down the tape. He knows more about football than we do, so I'm going to take his word for it. Him watching the tape, he realized guys weren't necessarily busting it. Now, could it have been that it was 105 degrees? Maybe. Could it also have been that they're not thrilled right now? Could be.
If it was because it was 105 degrees, we're screwed. As a fan base, we're screwed. If it's, oh man, it's so hot.
No, not that. I mean, in the third quarter, like if they're dead.
No, I got you.
Like that's what I mean.
Well, what I would say is that again, it's screwed because I called it from last Tuesday how hot it was going to be.
I know, but you saw the Buccaneers.
But they're not cyborgs.
Like Mike Evans had a great game, right? Mike Evans looked like he was going to pass out any second.
He did, and the Buccaneers did not have the problems that the Eagles had at all, and their preparation for the heat could have been far superior to what it was.
I just don't want to go too far and start saying that they're an unlikable football team.
No, I don't think it's not unlikable, but their effort for 6 months has been unlikable. Their effort down the stretch last year, unlikable.
Oh, absolutely.
Their performances so far this year, I don't like the way this team plays football. I don't like the way their head coach supposedly leads a team. There's things that are unlikable. Unlikable people, I'm not there.
Connor, what else we got on the text line? Then we're going to play some audio for you from the coordinators because we do have football stuff to talk about, but it's not necessarily glowing reviews. But what do we got on the text? Give us another text, Connor.
Rob from Lambertville says, I played sports through college, so maybe it's different in the pros. Doesn't the head coach need to step in here? Didn't we just hear from him the other day saying we win as a team, we lose as a team? There's already drama and dysfunction. Sirianni needs to step up.
Yes, he does need to step up. However, he may or may not have said No, I'll tell you right now. He did say, obviously, we're not the partners with the Eagles. He said that he was okay with what Darius Slay said. So he's allowing it. The head coach is allowing it. And so is he okay with it because maybe the other players in the locker room are okay with it? That's why I said earlier, Darius Slay has continued to do this, so maybe the players don't care. Maybe we are making too much of it. Or there will be a time where you push the wrong button, and maybe Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, a guy who is as emotional as he is, a guy that is as passionate as he is, we heard his reaction to when he left Philadelphia, what he said about Philadelphia, right? The guy's emotional. Maybe you say the wrong thing about the wrong person, and then it becomes a bigger deal. If you just don't do it, we don't have these conversations.
Let me ask you, are you telling me that, okay, does Darius Slay have a mirror? I mean, does he have a mirror? If you are going to criticize a teammate, if you are going to criticize someone on your staff or whatever, you make sure, and it's just a policy, lead with what you aren't doing or you could do better and then suggest what someone else could do that might be a little bit better. He played an atrocious game on Sunday. And you know what Saquon Barkley did when he dropped that pass and lost the Falcon game?
He owned it.
He also called Dan Patrick personally and said, I'm not doing media this week.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he called him.
This isn't the week for me to do this, but I promise you, we will reschedule. I promise you. Because you know what Saquon Barkley understands? He read the damn room. When he doesn't do his job, it's not the week for him to be on going, hey, let me do my media tour. Let me do it. And by the way, to me, it's all about awareness. Pocket awareness for the quarterback and a lack of awareness by so many other guys with their social media.
That's totally fair, but Sirianni being okay with it is because, like, when I heard those comments from Slay, I didn't necessarily take it as criticism, right? I didn't take it as, oh, well, C.J. Gardner-Johnson stinks.
No, he said
like,
sometimes you got to back it up.
Was like
when
if
you're going to talk like that,
but I would say
you need to back it up.
I think
exactly,
I
think that's fair.
I think the worst thing was going on the podcast with the guy that he was actively beefing with.
Right, that's more the argument.
Like did he say something egregious? No, he took a couple. He may have taken a shot, but like, hey, they're going to talk it out. I'm sure. The worst part was, again, I used the girlfriend analogy thing, right? Like, if your buddy and the girlfriend just break up and then 2 days later you're going to the bar with the girlfriend and her friends and you're supposed to be best friends with the dude, like, whoa.
Like, hey, bro.
Why are you doing that, man? Like, we just broke up over personal stuff and now you're going out with, not dating, but just hanging out. Like, it looks weird.
Yeah,
it's
I don't think
look.
Chauncey Gardner, or I don't think Darius Slay and Micah Parsons are dating, so I don't think it'll be that big of a deal. Like,
are you really trying to go TMZ? There it is.
I know what you're saying, and I understand why that could rub someone the wrong way. But to me, that's a conversation between teammates that happens the next time they see him. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson states
and that's
his case.
why I asked. The original question is there a legitimate potential boiling point right now? Because the fact that Chauncey Gardner-Johnson did respond, it's not a good sign. It's not a good sign that he responded.
I don't think it's a boiling point because Slay has said worse stuff than this to direct teammates.
But as I said,
has not boiled over.
You could push the wrong button.
We all have different
personalities.
What I would just suggest to you is we do not know what is boiled over, but what we do know is this. Last year, Fletcher Cox. Last year, Josh Sweat. Talked about guys in the locker room like sort of being cowboys, doing their own thing. Hunting for stats, not doing what they were sort of told.
Yeah, this was during the season.
During the season.
Yeah.
I will tell you right now, 100%, not 99, 100. I've been in enough of these pro locker rooms and talked to enough athletes that say this does not go over well.
I imagine
it didn't go over with
it
Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. What Saquon Barkley did is what PR would suggest to every one of them that they do.
Right.
And if the head coach actually took control of his locker room, he would say, guys, how about we lay low a little bit?
Right.
We circle the wagons, we lay low, we stop talking, and we start doing. So let's take the bye week for everybody to
and get your stuff
chill
together.
Out, get everybody together. We all need to get better, and then come back after the break renewed. In fact, I guarantee you something like that was said to the team. I guarantee
sure hope so.
Was said to them.
All right, I want to play some audio for you. The coordinator spoke yesterday, Vic Fangio and Kellen Moore, and I told you my reactions were what and duh.
What and Doug? This is good analysis from you, so I want to hear this.
Thank you very much. I'm a football guy. So obviously the biggest thing that we talked about when it came to the defense was playing 10 yards off the line of scrimmage, and how Baker Mayfield they played to their offense perfectly for the Buccaneers standpoint. Get the ball out quick because they were giving up a lot of sacks the previous week, 7 against the Broncos. So let's just get the ball out quick. Let's keep Baker Mayfield on his feet. And the best way to defend that is not playing 10 yards off the line of scrimmage, and yet that's what they did. So Vic Fangio talked about the corners playing press and that they can do it whenever they want. Take a listen.
Our guys, particularly the corners, have the ability to press based on formation. You know, if they're stacking receivers and stuff, it's hard to press then. But on normal splits, they have the ability to press in almost all our calls.
It's up to is it their decision?
Yeah, it's by matchup and receiver split. Yeah, but we had more opportunity. We can press more.
So he's telling you that the corners have the ability to decide if they want to play on the line of scrimmage or off.
Correct.
In a game, and I told you guys this yesterday, I went back to make sure, when they were down 21-0, and clearly they were picking you apart with these quick outs, they were still playing 7 to 10 yards off the line of scrimmage. Like, that didn't change.
Fair.
And Vic Fangio's telling you right there that the players have the right to choose. Now, I get it. Comfort level is a big deal when it comes to sports, right? But if you're getting beat and you'd just rather remain comfortable, that's scary. So Vic Fangio then continues. He's asked whether or not he can communicate to his players, hey, get your ass up on the line of scrimmage. Take a listen.
We tried to communicate that early, you know, that we had to get tighter. But credit to them, they threw it and caught it better than we defended it.
So what happened there, Vic? If you realize you have to get tighter and maybe that's relayed, is that the players not doing it? Is it you not coaching it well enough?
It's probably me not coaching it well enough.
Then what do you have to do differently?
Coach it better and do a better job during the week. And then understanding that sometimes teams come out in different stuff, you know, different tact than what you saw going into the game, and we got to adjust.
So those two clips.
By the way, what an accountability answer.
No, it's a great answer,
but very accountable.
But those two quotes or those two clips you just heard made me say what? So he is saying that he realized they should have been up, and yet they never went up.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't care about accountability as much. I care about the defensive coordinator that we're counting on with all this experience saying, well, I didn't coach it well enough. I didn't plan for what they did, and we didn't adjust in game to it.
That's scary.
Okay, what I'm going to say to you is that he told you they have the opportunity to do it themselves.
Right, so then that also scares me. Like,
they're not. So
the players don't realize that they're making a bad decision, and the coach isn't getting the message to them enough or hard enough or whatever.
Or they do realize they're making a bad decision, and they're afraid to get smoked. They're given the opportunity. I guarantee you here that if Vic Fangio said that publicly, and it wasn't true, a player would speak up immediately and go, whoa, wait a minute here. That's a false narrative. That doesn't happen. We do not have the ability. That'd be freelancing. He's telling you right there. They have the opportunity to play tighter. They don't want to.
Well,
so I don't know what you want to do. You could tell somebody, Connor, we want you to be on time for the breaks. We want you to do that. This is what we want you to do.
Okay.
And if you don't follow direction.
Oh, is that the music?
We were literally on the mark.
I saw it, yeah.
All right, so coming up next, those were the two what clips. I'll play the duh clip next from Kellen Moore. Again, a guy that I thought highly of. You have a Kellen Moore tattoo. We just haven't told the audience about that yet.
Right on the right butt cheek.
You'll hear from Kellen Moore coming up next. Also, CBS had an interesting article this morning that I read. They ranked each team's level of a panic meter, if they have one. Let's see where they put the Eagles, and we will react whether or not we agree with it. And more text messages. Do we have any text messages on the tickets, Connor? Oh, we'll get to those next. It's
boy.
Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Kincade Salciunas on this Wednesday morning. Adam Schefter joins us in 30 minutes. Is there more to some of this stuff with Darius Slay and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson? And, of course, the question that we asked him last week about play calling. How involved is Nick Sirianni? He told us he would do some digging on it. So we'll talk to Shefty coming up in about 30 minutes.
He better have had his shovel out.
I'm sure he did. Knowing Shefty, I'm sure he thinks about us all the time, too. So he would not have forgotten to do that.
He's not forgetting us.
All right, we'll get to the text messages coming up in a little bit. I want to hear from the texters about the Phillies tickets. We just saw a playoff series with a team from New York where there was a large amount of Knicks fans that came to Philadelphia and took over the lower bowl of the Wells Fargo Center, and it sounded like, at times, Madison Square Garden.
A season ticket holder confirmed to me, he goes, I think your number is correct. He goes, it was around 2,000 to 2,500 people.
And they were in the lower bowl,
He
and
said,
they were
but
loud.
they were very visible, very loud. And he said, and the Sixers didn't give us much to cheer about, and I know you're going to give me crap about that. And I would.
But I understand where he's coming from. When the Knicks are going on a 10-0 run and you can't rebound a freaking basketball, you're not just going to keep on saying, come on, Joe, grab a rebound.
I'll tell you this, I'm drowning out opposing fans in my building.
You can try, man.
I'm not sitting there. Well, you know what? Then that sucks. That sucks. If you've got 17,000 people and they have 2,500, and you can't drown them out?
Dude, I watched
that sucks.
I watched the Phillies get no hit in a World Series game. And they were so loud. By the way, the Phillies fans were still trying to make noise, but, you know. So we'll get to those texts in a second. I want to play you one more clip, and then I want to give you this panic meter article that I found pretty interesting on CBS. But I told you those two Vic Fangio clips had me saying what. Here's Kellen Moore. He had me saying duh at the end of it.
Yeah, I obviously want to get the ball to Saquon as much as possible, just like, a lot of these guys. But, obviously poor job just finding the rhythm in that game to go 3 and out, and then, put yourself in a really challenging situation where you're going to have to play catch-up ball for the rest of the game, and you still don't want to lose the run game. You still want to try and keep it alive. Obviously, certainly we got to get him more touches.
Duh. Then why didn't you? Like, I feel like it's so easy sometimes to say things 2 days later. Yeah, obviously we have to, we got to do this, we got to do that. Then why didn't you do it? Like, how was that not in your mindset going into that game, knowing you were going to be missing receivers and knowing that it's a blitz-happy defense? So one of the best ways to beat the blitz is quick passes or the running game.
Okay, that's the difference between what Kellen Moore said, and I'll rip him for it, and Vic Fangio and what he said, and I won't, is because Vic Fangio gave us the explanation. If the players want to play tighter, they have the option in the game plan to play tighter. They obviously were spooked or afraid or whatever to press. They have that option. So we should never hear that again. Honestly, we now know the players have that ability. He's on record. They can go do it.
Well, until we get to a conversation of when does Vic Fangio demand it?
Well, the thing is he can maybe demand it, and you got guys that are more worried about getting smoked.
All right, if they don't do it, then they sit
smoked.
their ass on the bench.
Who do you – if Darius Slay's one of those people, and I believe he is.
He may be.
I believe he is. What do you do?
Hey, you sat Jalen Carter out for a drive.
You're going to tell me you're going to sit Darius Slay?
Absolutely. If he's directly not listening to the demands of his defensive coordinator, he sits.
Then we're going to get smoked. Then we're just going to get smoked. I mean, I get it. I get what you're saying, and I totally understand the sentiment. But you're going to get smoked. You're not.
Yeah,
you,
probably.
There's certain players that you can go, oh, okay, we can sit Slay, and then I'm going to get smoked.
Right, and then you're going to play Keely Ringo more.
There is a problem with this franchise.
Yeah, it might be.
I
might be dysfunctional.
I believe. No, I don't know. Like, we're in different spots.
No, you think
you
so.
say they might be dysfunctional. I'm telling you, they are. I believe it 100%, and I'm very worried about where they're heading.
I mean,
I'm very worried about it because this is a continuation of last year. This looks like the first 4 games of this year look like last year.
Kind of.
What do you mean? Well, what don't you see the parallels to?
Well, I see the injuries. I see Jalen Hurts playing better football in production, not so much taking care of it. I believe in the coaching.
That's a good point.
I believe in the coaching staff more. Remember, when we came into the season, like think back 2 months ago, I told you guys I'm giving these guys a month. I said I'm giving them 4 weeks.
You did. You absolutely did.
Yep.
Who would I be to not stick to that? I believe that there were going to be some growing pains with a new coordinator, a new defensive coordinator as well. And also, I didn't believe fully that the head coach was going to stay out of stuff. So I haven't seen anything that I wasn't totally expecting.
Right. And look,
Okay,
you're sticking to what you said. I told you from the very beginning that I was not going to give him 4 weeks.
Yeah,
I
but
did
what you
too.
said was dumb. What I said was smart.
All right, we're going to move on. CBS. This is an interesting article from Tyler Sullivan.
Okay, I do not know Tyler Sullivan.
He did the NFL panic meter entering week 5, and he had 9 teams that he put the panic meter for. And of those 3 panic meters, or of those 9 teams, there's 3 panic meters. Should be fine. 0 margin for error. Danger zone. Where do you believe the Philadelphia Eagles? They were one of the 9 teams that he highlighted. Where do you believe?
Okay, give the categories one time.
Danger zone, the worst. 0 margin for error, the second worst, and then should be fine.
Danger zone.
0 margin.
0 margin for error is correct. So the danger zone teams, by the way, are all the 1-3 or 0-4 teams.
So like Jacksonville,
0-4, Bengals, Rams, Dolphins, all 1-3 teams that you had playoff potential expectations for.
Oh, no question.
Right? Yeah. So the 2 teams that he has in the 0 margin, 3 teams 0 margin for error, Eagles, Jets, and Cowboys. So 2 teams from the NFC East. I think that's a fair place to be. Here's what he said about the Eagles. He said, all this leads to what could prove to be a massive divisional matchup with the Eagles in Dallas. Speaking of Philly, they've been without their top pass-catching options, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, due to injury, and are coming off of a Week 4 loss to the Bucs. Their schedule's a little softer over the next few weeks leading up to that game against the Cowboys, but the offense, even when discounting injury, has looked off throughout the season, which has the seat under head coach Nick Sirianni heating up. Another sort of lifeless effort in the coming weeks could send folks around Lincoln Financial Field into a frenzy. I thought that was perfectly written. Now, no mention of the defense, obviously, but I thought that was perfectly written. Like, if there's another lifeless effort or what you saw against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, or to my point, a squeak-out win against the Browns, and I know they need to win anything they can do at this point. I get it, Connor. You made that clear yesterday. But if it looks more the same, man, we're gonna continue to talk about it.
This is a long stretch of games. Like, this isn't one where I'll just shrug it off, because it's a long stretch of games. And though I do believe in the coordinators a lot more, I think that's too kind from CBS. This Eagles team being 2-2 and playing worse than the other 2-2 teams, already losing to 2 of the 2-2 teams. I got to tell you, I think their average is all get out. They're just to me it's alarming. Yeah. I'm not ready to sound the panic button.
No, of course not.
But the alarm is there. And if they're not 4-2, I absolutely will tell you the panic button will be pushed. If this team doesn't go 4-2, and they're not sitting there at that
if it's
point.
3-3 or worse,
if they're 3-3, February's off the table for me, and I will honestly count the days till you get a better head coach in here.
Oh,
yeah, I think that's fair. But here's my thing with the Cleveland game, where we talk about like having a great game versus just finding a way to win. I'm not going to feel worse about this team if they win. Like, unless there's a major injury, it will be a step in the right direction if they win that game.
But will you feel better?
If Jake Elliott kicks a field goal to go 16 to win 17-16 at the buzzer against Cleveland, you're not going to feel And you say you're not going to feel bad about it?
I'll feel slightly better because the alternative of losing that
Yeah, but
game
you know what? I could
means,
see.
guess
I
what?
could
They're
see your
dead.
tweets happening during the game, though.
Can you?
Yeah, I follow you on
Okay.
Twitter. Yeah, I hit the follow button.
Yeah, we like you.
I
We
can see
follow
you
you.
tweeting very critical during the game, and
Oh
if
my
they
gosh.
win, are you then all going to sound and say,
Everything's good.
it's
Buddy,
all right?
that's what I'm saying. I'm critical of this football team. But
know you are.
if they win a football game, I'm not going to feel worse than watching them get smoked. That's crazy to me.
No, it's not about getting them smoked. It's just that it's more of the same.
It's not, John.
It is. When you play the Cleveland Browns
A
at
bad
home,
football team.
and if you had the scenario I gave you, you have to struggle for 4 quarters and kick a last-second field goal to beat them. It's more of the same garbage, and you would just be sticking your head in the sand if you said, yeah, but they won a game.
I'm not
Like, I mean, they
sticking my
won.
head in the sand. I still understand the problems with the team.
Well,
I'm
then
just
nothing
saying
would
that
be
they're
getting better.
that they're prolonging their chances to get out of it if they win, and if they lose, well, they're dead in the water. If they lose to Cleveland, or if they
it's
lose
terrible.
to the Giants, would be even worse. This season is done.
The Giants game is the one.
That's why I'm saying, like, just winning at least prolongs
the Giants game is the one where you lose that Giants game. I look. I'm done with you, Nick Sirianni.
Yeah.
I am done.
Well,
3-3.
welcome to the
3-3. I'll
party,
be done
man.
with him. Exactly.
All right,
I'm late, but get me in.
Give us a text on the tickets. I'm starting to get some more tweets about this. So give us a text on the ticket conversation, Connor.
All right, we have a text here from Joe the Cynic who says, no doubt those Sixers season ticket holders knew what was going to happen and were happy to dump those seats to pay for this year. Hopefully, Phillies fans are a bit more optimistic than we were about the Sixers.
Oh, yeah, the Phillies team, the Phillies fans that have been optimistic to the point where they said they were going to lose the division. And I get a tweet from Bruce saying if I had tickets, I would sell them because they can't hit.
You're missing the point. I made the argument earlier this week. Look at the attendance.
You're right. It's always been
They
there.
packed the bank this year.
All right. Do they continue to pack the bank? For those of you who do have season tickets, we would love to hear from you and own up to it. If you're going to sell them, explain why. And if it's just because you're trying to make a payday, at least be real with us. But if that's the case, fandom's in question. It's Kincade and Salciunas. Adam Schefter joins us coming up at 8 o'clock. Coming up next, we get more on these conversations. You can text and you can call on 610-632-0975. It's Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Mike Missanelli.
They're only 2-2, and you might think.
Salciunas 97.5, The Fanatic. John, I want you to read that tweet that you read to me during the break in a few minutes because it is spot on.
It is.
And it's in response to, we had a caller earlier, and I felt bad that we kind of ganged up on him, but our man Jerry in Reading was upset that we were talking too much TMZ stuff.
And when asked to say, what should we be talking about,
he could not come up with an answer.
He had no answer, and as Brendan Gunn said, he had no answer before he was on the air because Brendan asked him the same question. If you're going to come on and accuse people and say, you're talking about the wrong things, then the absolute question to ask is, tell us what we should be talking about.
Right.
And he had 3 opportunities to do it, by the way.
And, of course,
I don't feel the least bit bad, and I love him that he listens.
And so our main topic today, in case you're wondering, is whether or not the Eagles are reaching a boiling point, and this, of course, in response to Darius Slay's own doing and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson's own response.
Yep.
We're not making stuff up, right? Let me make this clear. I don't like Darius Slay doing that, and I don't need Chauncey Gardner-Johnson responding for me to have that opinion. I don't like it. I think it's bad practice. I think you should have your teammates' backs. I don't think Darius Slay should go on his podcast. This is last year talking about his great game against the 49ers when they scored on 6 straight drives.
Amen.
Right?
Yeah.
Good for you that you had a good game. Keep that to yourself. When you're at home with your beautiful wife and your beautiful kids in your mansion, talk about your own good game. Don't go on a podcast and say, I played well, the rest of my team played like crap, which is what he said. I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but he didn't just say crap. He said the S word.
No, that's exactly what he said.
So this year, when he continues that and talks about Chauncey Gardner-Johnson on a podcast with Micah Parsons, who CJ GJ was just having beef with, I don't like that personally. Then Chauncey Gardner-Johnson reacts to it on social media. Now we leads to the question of, all right, is there something going on here? Or are we making too much of it? I want you to read the tweet that you got earlier in the show from Tommy Reardon.
Tommy shared it. I saw TMZ-level drama between 5 and 81 completely close a Super Bowl window, and that occurred under a head coach that I trusted. I feel like I'm the dog in the burning building saying everything's fine when in reality the window is slamming shut under Sirianni.
That's spot on, dude.
I got to tell you, until proven differently, Tommy's absolutely correct.
I mean that you knew how good that team was with 5 and Owens, like T.O. like it was lethal, and then they had beefs,
and it divided that locker room.
Yeah, there was fights.
There were guys that there were fights.
There were fights.
There were guys that weren't speaking to each other in position player meetings, and it was something that Andy Reid, still fairly young in his tenure, as an NFL head coach, a year ahead of where Nick Sirianni is right now, pretty much. He couldn't get it right,
and I can't blame him for it. That's tough.
No, I mean it was tough.
And look, there's things that Nick Sirianni I can't blame him for. Like it's hard.
Like a gentleman here listening to the show says, Vic Fangio can speak till he's blue in the face. If the players won't listen, it's easy to say bench them, but everybody is under a demand to win with Jeffrey Lurie. You can over and over your head. If the players don't hold themselves accountable to each other, that's a problem, and that's a bad locker room.
All right. Can you read us some text, Connor, on the ticket thing? Bruce checks in, and I love you, Bruce. All right? Not the who was the guy earlier that I mentioned? Oh, wow, we have 2 Bruces.
Yeah, there are, well, believe it or not, multiple people named Bruce.
All right, so
I got a cousin Bruce, too.
We have a good Bruce and a bad Bruce. All right, bad Bruce was the guy that tweeted in earlier saying, if I had tickets and could resell them at a huge market, I'd do it. Not my problem. The Phillies can't hit. Give me the money. That's bad Bruce.
That's bad Bruce. We don't like that Bruce.
Good Bruce.
Unless he listens all day and we love him.
Good Bruce has season tickets.
Okay, so what's the
I
issue?
have season tickets to the Phillies, and I cannot attend Saturday's game due to a wedding. I'm not happy about it. But no way in hell Am I putting my tickets up for sale and selling them to a Mets fan? If I do, tickets should be revoked. So I'm guessing he's going to either text his buddies who aren't going to the wedding and say who wants them, as opposed to going on these secondary markets and running the risk that a Mets fan can scoop up his tickets. That's good, Bruce, right there.
By the way, people will say there's nothing you can do. They're the people's tickets. There's nothing you can do about it. That is completely false. There are SEC programs where holding tickets to big-name programs is like a legacy-type item. And they will have a rule in place that if more than 2 of your games go up in the course of a year, some of them might say 1. At one time, it was 1 with one of the programs. If your program ends up on secondary market, your tickets are revoked for the next season.
Yeah, but they don't have that rule here.
No, but the thing is, it's something that can be done.
It's something that can be done.
It's something that can be done. You will be taken off the rolls, and someone else will have an opportunity to buy your seats for next year. I would love to see a sports team take that tact, a pro sports team take that tact.
Damn right, man. Especially when New York's not far from here and they travel.
And you have like 30 to 40,000 people that want to get Eagles season tickets.
Right.
I would absolutely love to see it. The Phillies, they're selling out. They had mounds of sellouts this year. I'd love to see the Phillies do it. Stop these ticket aggregators.
What do we got on the text line, Connor?
Colin from South Philly checks in and says, don't blame the fans from New York for having a presence in the divisional round. Phillies are 100% selling tickets on third-party sites as fans more often than not getting rejection emails.
I'm not blaming Mets fans. I credit them for buying the tickets.
And by the way,
I credit us for buying tickets in road games. I credit them for buying tickets.
By the way, I will tell you, I heard from a bunch of people. I've heard people say, oh, you can't do, like, they get tickets. I know of at least 3 people that got tickets through the lottery. So I've heard people say that the Phillies ran a lottery. I know 3 people who got tickets through the lottery.
Yeah.
One of them got tickets through Game 5. I think Brendan did. Mm-hmm. Brendan got tickets for Game 5, which may never happen. But I know people who got tickets for 1 and got tickets for 2. It wasn't a fake lottery. And these people have nothing to do with the Phillies.
I don't think they're saying it's a fake lottery.
No,
what's
there
to
are
stop
people.
from Mets? Well, what's to stop from Mets fans entering into that?
Well, there are, and the thing is too is there's also things that the Phillies could put in place. They could put up the geofence.
Yeah, I don't know if they did that.
They did not. No, they did not.
Okay.
Yeah, but let's not pretend there aren't people walking around Center City and Mets stuff every once in a while.
No, you're right.
Like,
Well, there are. The homeless is a problem, Connor, and Sherelle Parker, our mayor, her honor, is trying to fix it. The people peeing on the buildings in Center City. We're going to get those Met fans out of town. Send them back where they belong. Flushing.
Coming up next, your chance to win $1,000. The keyword's a fun one today.
Oh, it is?
Come on, man.
Oh, no.
Come on, man. Who did this?
Oh, no.
Who did this? Anyways, Adam Schefter joins us at 8 o'clock. It's an Adam Schefter Wednesday morning. Is there more to these Eagles stories? We'll discuss it with Schefter next. It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic.
bigger child for laughing.
Well, if I say that, people know exactly what I'm talking about, so that they don't send in the wrong word. Because there's other
want
words.
them to send the
there's
wrong
other
word.
words that sound like tip. So I just want to make sure people are sending in the correct word.
And by the way, we're being asked to tip everywhere now. So it's probably a word.
Tipping's a good thing for
what?
What do you mean? Why?
But tipping's a good thing where it's something where somebody goes the extra effort.
Yeah, I got you.
My gosh.
I got you.
I forget where I got asked to tip the other day. I had to answer a question about tipping, and no one helped me with anything.
Yeah.
Like, no one helped me with the thing. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Like, why do I have to? You have to answer that question. And I'm like, what? Okay.
Yeah, I know.
So then I'm looking and I'm going, oh, seriously? Are you kidding me?
I know.
I didn't do it. You didn't do it. Nobody did anything for me.
But look.
Seriously.
People survive off it, man.
Yeah.
All right. We'll be joined momentarily by Adam Schefter. He joins us every single Wednesday at 8 o'clock. So we'll speak with Shefty soon.
Right.
And we're going to get into a bunch of stuff with him. I mean, last week when we had him on, we asked him to do some digging, and he said he would do it. And this was about Kellen Moore and Nick Sirianni and their collaborative effort with in-game play calling. And Shefty said, hey, if there's some truth to this, and if I gave Kellen Moore truth serum, he would not like it. He would not like that Nick Sirianni every once in a while, I'll say interferes, but
no, it's interference.
Steps in with certain play calls in certain spots because there is a flow to the game. And that's not just you and I saying that. That's former football players that have talked about it.
Yes.
NBC Sports Philadelphia's talked about it. I'm sure Barrett's touched on it. Ron Jaworski's touched on it. Like, these guys know what's going on. And all the people on ESPN have talked about it. Like, you can't just take the OC out of their flow because you want to implement a play here and there. And that's just wrong. So I wonder if Shefty did that digging and if he's going to be able to give that information to us momentarily when he joins us. And, of course, we're also going to talk to him about everything else that's going on. Now, real quick, I saw a tweet yesterday, speaking of the Darius Slay podcast stuff. Somebody was like, hey, how come nobody gave Jason Kelce crap for having a podcast during his time with the Eagles?
Did he do any of this?
No.
Did he criticize his teammates on it?
No. If anything, he, blindly said good things about
By the way,
them.
Did Jason Kelce, Lane Johnson, Brandon Graham, I'm trying to think of the guys of this era who were the biggest Eagles. Any of them having grief with the media and issues? Now, by the way, they've scolded the media before.
Yes, they have.
Every last one of them.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
That's fine.
Because sometimes, you roll up the paper and you get a little snap on the nose.
Yep. Absolutely.
Don't poop in the house.
Nope. Try not to, Johnny. All right.
I'm not talking to you.
Let's head to the Comcast Business Hotline, where every day in business is a big day. Let Comcast Business help you move forward with what's next. He's brought to us by Landis Block. Create your very own jaw-dropping backyard paradise online at landisbc.com. From ESPN, the great Adam Schefter joins us. Shefty, good morning.
Good morning, guys. Who was upset with the media? Which player?
So Darius Slay, and we're going to get into this with you. Darius Slay was on Micah Parsons' podcast the other day, and they started talking about Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, who was having a beef with Micah Parsons. So kind of a weird look for Darius Slay to go on the podcast when those two players were actively beefing. And then Darius Slay took to social media afterward when he got crushed for it, and he said fans and the media are overblowing it. And I don't know if that's true when Chauncey Gardner-Johnson then went to social media and made it clear he wasn't necessarily thrilled about it.
And on the podcast, he said, when you're going to do all that talking, eventually you got to back it up. That's garbage.
So Darius Slay said that on the podcast that about his team.
Yes.
About Chauncey Gardner-Johnson.
Yeah.
And he said this on the podcast of Micah Parsons.
On Micah Parsons' process.
Who was saying that Chauncey Gardner-Johnson had not been playing well. So basically, Darius Slay sided with Parsons. Like
Affirmed.
It's a messy situation from afar, Shefty.
Yeah, I don't think that's the wisest course of action. Again, I mean, it's amazing, what people do these days, and I'm sure Darius doesn't see it, but if he took a step back and he had Chauncey Gardner-Johnson go on Micah's podcast and talk about him, he probably wouldn't have been very happy about it, right? So I go back to what I told my daughter when she was born, like, treat people the way you want to be treated. Would Darius Slay want to be treated like that? Pretty simple. I would say, my guess is no. Maybe he wouldn't. He's going to say he wouldn't mind it, but again, I don't think that's necessarily the right thing to do.
I'm a little surprised, Adam, at, again, the effort on Sunday, and effort was being even used by coaches and players alike. It's unacceptable the way this team's playing right now, and to get dominated by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers like that. How eye-opening do you think that is across the league and maybe the people you speak to about how the Eagles are playing right now?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, and we talked about this last week, I said to you, when Tampa lost at home to Denver, that was going to be a bad thing for the Philadelphia Eagles because Tampa is a good team. And good teams don't play games like that 2 weeks in a row. And when they go out and get embarrassed, typically the next week, if they're a quality team, they respond. And I knew, anybody knew, like it's some groundbreaking revelation, that Tampa was going to come out and play an A game. And that's exactly what happened. But I think what was a little eye-opening was just the ease at which they had with the Eagles that day, offensively, defensively. Like, they did whatever they wanted to do that day. And, Philadelphia has been missing its wide receivers. It's a tough spot. They haven't started fast. When you don't start fast, you fall behind. There's a whole litany of reasons and excuses we could give as to why they looked the way they did. The fact of the matter is they played 4 games. They're 2-2, right? They're 2-2?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And it could have been better, it could have been worse, but they're 2-2 for a reason. And they've been an average football team through the first 4 weeks. That's what it is, and there's a lot of work to get done. And the other thing I was thinking also is, how many times did we have the conversation during the offseason when everybody was all excited about the Eagles, and I said to you, you tell me how many times I said this, the one thing that I'm a little worried about, concerned about, is what if Jaden Daniels is what everybody says he is?
Yep. I absolutely believe that's scary. It has scared me since the day they drafted him.
Yep. And, again, the line that people used to me, and I don't think I think I brought up on your show no less than a half dozen times this offseason. I said there were any number of personnel people around the league that compared Jaden Daniels to Lamar Jackson to me, and they said he's Lamar Jackson 2.0. That's what they said. I heard that from a few highly respected, knowledgeable football people. And so the Commanders drafted Lamar Jackson 2.0, it looks like. It looks like, after 4 games.
Right.
Now, there's still a lot of time, but if he is what he's looked like he is for the 4 games, and what other people think he is after the 4 games, well, that's now in the division, and that's going to be a problem for the next decade plus.
Shefty, I know you don't win.
That's an issue.
I know you don't win a Super Bowl on paper, right? So the whole on-paper conversation, when we talk about the roster and how talented they are, we won't find that out until they actually play. But I don't think the Eagles have played anywhere close to what we expect them. Even in the games that they won, the New Orleans game, the offense did not look good. So who does that ultimately fall on, right? They're 2-2, and I don't feel supremely confident about a team that we had winning the division and winning around 11 or 12 games.
No, and I wouldn't feel confident about them right now either. They have a lot of work to do, as we talked about. But, again, it's October 2nd. They're on their bye, an early bye, which I don't love, but they're on their bye. And there's a lot of football left, a lot of roller coaster ride left. And there is plenty of time to get this turned around, plenty of time. And there's plenty of time for them to separate themselves, differentiate themselves, and then pull ahead in that division. And if they do that, then great. And if they don't, then obviously then they're going to have to figure out what it's going to take to get there. Again, I'm not hitting a panic button yet, but there are alarming signs.
When you talk about there being plenty of time, and I understand it's true, last year we kept hearing that during the 1-7 slide down the stretch, that, there's plenty of time. They'll work this out. They'll pull out of the nosedive. Do you feel differently about this team because of the coordinators? Do you feel differently this time around because they've got Saquon Barkley? Like, what would give you optimism? Because I think people are looking for some optimism.
Well, I'll give you some optimism. The optimism is that they played the last 2 games without A.J. Brown. They played the last game without Devontae Smith. When you're playing a game without both those guys, then that's going to be an enormously challenging environment to play in. They've played 2 tough road games in New Orleans and Tampa. And again, I come back to this. They won the game in New Orleans to their credit. They deserved in the end to win. But that was always going to be a tough place to win. I don't care they didn't play great. They won the game. That's all that matters. Because if they had lost that game and they're in the bye at 1-3, coming off 3 straight losses, forget about it. That to me was the nightmare scenario, and they avoided that. So it's 2-2. You start over. You're 500. You come back. I presume that when they get back, A.J. Brown's going to be back. I presume that when they get back, Devontae Smith is going to be back. I presume that when they get back, Lane Johnson's going to be back. Like, their guys are back. And you would hope and think that their brand of football will be back and that they could start ripping off some wins and stacking them up. That's the hope. Now, we'll see whether or not they can do it. The team has looked a little discombobulated to me at times here. So, and maybe that's to be expected with 2 new coordinators, and you have to kind of work these things out. But they were not as impressive through the 4 games as you would like to think that they would have been.
Shefty, time to hand in your homework assignment if you did it. Last week we asked you to do some digging, and we're wondering if you did. Nick Sirianni said it was a collaborative effort, the play calling, and he admitted to making some in-game play calls despite Kellen Moore calling the majority of the play calls. And you yourself said if you gave Kellen Moore truth serum, he would probably be upset with that. So did you do some digging on this, and is it accurate?
Yeah, I did not, and I didn't because it's the life that we live. So I didn't do my homework, so I get a failing grade.
Yeah, you did not pass.
Inevitably, you're distracted by the 100 injuries that were coming up.
Of course.
And quarterback stuff and Devontae Adams I get an F for today on my homework. Which, by the way, I was always very good at getting my homework done. It's the first time I haven't done my homework in a very long time.
I thought that's why you went to Michigan, because you didn't do your homework. I'm just saying.
Good, John.
I got to ask you this though, as far as where Vic Fangio says when questioned about why weren't they pressing more against the receivers of Tampa, he explains to us yesterday that his D-backs have the option to do that, and they weren't doing it. They have the option in the scheme to press more, to get up there and get up close and personal, and that they weren't doing it. So to me, is that insubordination? Is that guys that are afraid of getting smoked? What does that say to you, and is it a major red flag that coaches come out and tell us that?
I think certain coaches trust certain players to make certain decisions on the field, and they trust that they're going to do the right thing. Coaches can't do everything for them.
Sure.
Ultimately, players have to make these plays in the end. So you could tell them to do a certain thing, but ultimately they're out there, and they're going to have to make a judgment based off instincts and experience and instruction, and that's what they did. And they looked overmatched. They looked like they couldn't slow down that team last week. Like, the Buccaneers looked like they could do whatever they wanted, whether the players were or weren't following orders. Tampa Bay overpowered them.
Shefty, how important are statement wins? And what I mean is when they come out of the bye week against Cleveland, and John and I painted this scenario, if Jake Elliott has to kick a 60-yard field goal
to win it at the end,
to win 17-16, how good are you ultimately feeling about an Eagles team that, again, we had NFC Championship appearance conversations about, barely beating a team that seems to be heading in the wrong direction? Do statement wins matter in the locker room?
Well, I don't even view a game against the Cleveland Browns as a chance for a statement win. Like, it's a chance for a win. If Jake Elliott kicks that field goal to win the game 17-16 and they win, fine. You put it in the column and you go on to the next week. Fine. Not a big deal. Like, are you going to be critical of them for not being more impressed? Fine. The problem is if Jake Elliott misses that field goal and they lose 16-14. That's the problem. Now you've come out of your bye week, you get your guys back, and you lose to a team that shouldn't be playing with you. That's the problem. You win, well, you do whatever you want, pick them apart for the lack of impressive way that they've done that. But, I'm not. If I'm an Eagles fan, I don't care about a statement win. I mean, yeah, I want them to look as good as possible. So, to me, yeah, that's a statement win. Like, you just want to be stacking wins rather than statement wins until you get to the point later in the season where you're playing your best football. That's the hope.
All right, Shefty, last thing for you. We appreciate your time as always. The seat, how warm is it for Sirianni?
I don't know that it's any warmer now than it was at the end of the year. I think everybody always felt like this year, this team had to play well. They had to have a strong season. Otherwise, this organization was going to have to evaluate everything and make some tough decisions. I don't know that it's gotten any warmer or less warm. Like, is there anything different? Do you feel the seat is warmer now because of this?
Yes.
I don't.
Decidedly.
Well,
yeah.
and I was not in favor of him coming back. John was, and so John is now.
I'm getting over. I'm ready to join the cult because it's
cult.
I cannot trust him on game day.
Yeah. Well, listen. Again, he's going to have 13 games to state his case. So, the 13 games to tell you that he deserves to stay, he belongs, and that he's the right man for the job. We got an election a month from now, and Nick Sirianni's about to enter his runoff here.
Yep.
Here it is.
Shefty, man, we appreciate it as always. Enjoy yourself.
Thanks, Adam.
Enjoy another slate of football this weekend, and we'll talk to you next week.
Gentlemen, thank you very much. Have a great week, and we will talk next Wednesday.
Thanks, Shefty. Never a dull moment in Philadelphia, man. Adam Schefter on the Comcast Business Hotline, and he was brought to us by Landis Block. Create your very own jaw-dropping backyard paradise online at landisbc.com. Connor was doing a victory lap in there.
Why?
I'm not
Because
doing a victory lap.
Arms up
I will
in
tell you
the
this.
air.
I didn't lap at all. My legs stayed still.
After seeing all we've seen for now a stretch of 13 games. That's
No. He was talking about the
I know.
stacking up wins.
I understand,
thing.
but that's ridiculous. Yes, it matters how this team wins. It absolutely matters how they win.
Eventually, 100%.
Because we can't keep kicking the ball down the can. Well, eventually they'll get this thing figured out and they'll start playing great.
I'm not saying they will get this thing figured out.
No, but
I'm
that's-
saying right now they're in such a bad spot that winning would be significantly better than what they
All
just
right,
did.
so let me ask
that.
some, because again, I asked the question last week. When do you need to see it? And the
told
statement
you.
win, and you said the Giants.
Giants.
So if they lose to Cleveland, heaven forbid,
Oh, heaven forbid. Don't do that to us.
are you still on the, hey, they got to beat the doors off the Giants, or are you saying, man, they just need a win?
No, then we might panic.
No, I mean, if you lose to Cleveland, this
No, I
thing is
know.
this
I've never
thing's
said
a,
I'm
this
comfortable
thing
with
is
a
a
loss.
death spiral.
No, I'm saying the Giants game. If they're 2-3, you said you needed to see a statement win in that Giants game.
Yeah, but I
what
didn't
if they're
say I'm
2-3?
cool with a loss against Cleveland. If they lose to Cleveland, everything shifts.
Good. Okay, but then that's fair. That's absolutely fair.
What was in headlines? Sorry.
Oh,
I'm sorry about that,
the
Connor.
Phillies are betting on their inter-squad games. The Detroit Tigers are the best team to ever step on a baseball field.
What do you think about the inter-squad game today? I don't understand why they're not opening the gates. The Braves did this last year, brought in people.
Did it work?
The fans got this. What difference does it make?
Control-
the fans got to
control
come.
environment.
Also,
Guess what? You're trying to earn money for the Phillies Foundation.
You've been in both, John. You can let me know. Is the fan base a little bit different up here than it is in Atlanta?
Yeah, well, then why wouldn't it? That's more the reason why you would go.
Boo, Nick, you suck.
would not.
Nick, this is why you shouldn't
would
be in the
not.
starting lineup.
The people
you knew
who
that
would,
would.
the people who would be there would be the total fanboys.
What if Mets fans got tickets to the inter-squad game?
Yeah, exactly.
That's always good.
610.
If they're donating money, to the cause, no. And Met fans will be home watching their team.
I sure hope so. All right, coming up next, it's one thing for us to talk about Jalen Hurts' not so great answer about Nick Sirianni on Sunday. What about a former player in the NFL? They spoke on it, and it's pretty damning. You'll hear that next on Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
97.5, The Fanatic, on this Wednesday morning. You just heard Adam Schefter. We'll play the 5 best minutes of Shefty coming up later on the 9 o'clock hour. And, of course, it'll be podcasts on 975thefanatic.com and our YouTube page. Speaking of the 9 o'clock hour, John.
Yes.
We have to ask the people if an apology is in order.
Okay, I want to hear this one. This is good. Could it be internal?
Yes. And look, I don't want to break the peace with the best show ever.
We do not.
I like having a peace treaty. But we have to ask the question if an apology is in order.
Oh, here we go.
We're going to be very clear about it.
I'm
We're
just
going to be
asking
very clear about it.
I'm not saying I demand.
And we're going to give them a chance to clarify what might be an oversight on their part.
Maybe we'll speak to Tyrone at some point during the show.
We might. By the way,
maybe we'll cold call him.
By the way, Tyrone's brother, I met Coach for the first time, his brother.
What, at FanFest?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't see him.
Oh, my God. What a good dude.
Oh, I mean,
what a good dude.
I've heard great things.
Thing is, though, I would mess with him. Wouldn't mess. He's a mountain of a man.
Well, of course not. I don't want to mess with Tyrone.
I wouldn't mess with Tyrone, but his brother.
Tyrone's no slouch either.
Yeah, but his brother, man, is a moose. And he was a real. He's one of those guys that looks like a gentle giant that he could just like whack you.
Yeah,
whack you right over the wall.
But at 9 o'clock,
really nice dude.
We're gonna ask the audience to let us know if an apology's in order.
And if you'll indulge me for a second, I'd like to welcome the newest member of the Kincade family tree.
Oh, yeah, it continues to grow.
My cousin Katie and her husband Justin, the Prattle family, welcoming in, this is a very strong name, Harrison Crew Prattle.
I love that.
So Harrison Crew is now part of it. Now they go by their middle names.
So Crew will be the go-by name.
So now Coco and Cash have Crew.
Nice.
And Crew is now part of the family.
Well, congratulations.
Yes, great job.
Awesome. And the picture, look, he looks good, man. That picture you sent us.
And a baseball cap, too. I thought you'd like the baseball cap.
Congrats. He's ready to
Little
go.
Crew, Katie did a good job yesterday. I don't think Justin did a damn thing. Well, he did at one point.
Yeah, congrats, but I do have to be slightly anti, simply because one of the kids is picking the other name over Connor.
Well, he's Connor. He's Connor. Look, there's Colette Elizabeth.
Yes.
Is Coco. And she's Coco. And then there's Connor Daniel, named after Chief Dan.
Yes.
His grandfather. Connor Daniel, and he's Cash.
No, he's too good for the name Connor, so okay.
Connor's a great name. By the way, Connor's a great name, too.
Thank you. I'm pretty attached to it myself.
We were all begging for the name and campaigning for it. Olivia wanted Chase.
Oh, it's a strong name, man.
Christina wanted, I forget what she wanted, but Cade. There was a big push from the Kincade side of the family.
Of course.
To have a Cade, but it didn't work.
All right. Well, congratulations to the family. That's great.
Great job.
All right. So a lot of times people listen to the media and go, you guys are making too much of this, like the local media, right? This is what our jumping off point was today with the Darius Slay podcast. I wonder, are the Eagles getting close to a boiling point inside that locker room when Darius Slay once again goes on a podcast? This time a teammate of his does respond to it, and it's not in a, oh, we're cool. It was a damn, ... That was Chauncey Gardner-Johnson.
That's telling you he ain't cool with it.
Yeah. So I said at the beginning of the show, the bye week is a perfect time to get healthy. It's also a perfect time to get your crap together. And I don't mean X's and O's. I mean figuring some stuff out, including the quarterback and head coach. So here's Jalen Hurts following the game on Sunday when asked about his communication process with Nick Sirianni.
Jalen, you and Nick are obviously big voices on the team as the head coach and the quarterback. As you enter the bye and you want to find an identity, do you two talk about maybe, what you want the message to be to the team or how you kind of want to handle, as you guys go into the second part of the year?
We have our moments.
And that was it. We have our moments. And so it leads us to go, all right, hold on a second. Why was that the answer, right? And we didn't talk too much of it, but we did have a conversation about there potentially being dysfunction inside the Eagles locker room. How about a former player speaks on it? Here's Teddy Bruschi on ESPN reacting to that clip that you just heard.
You don't have to be best friends with your head coach, okay? You don't have to be best friends. And, playing for Bill Belichick like I did, I don't think he had any best friends on the team in terms of players. But we knew one thing, his contributions were immense in terms of what we did. What contribution is Nick Sirianni given to Jalen Hurts or the defensive side of the ball? That's the thing. If you don't feel like there's either of those, listen, Coach, I'm not with you, and then you're not even doing anything for us to help us win football games, now you got problems. Now you got problems because you're almost winning in spite of your head coach. And that's not a good place to be. That's not a good place to be because you want to know that, when certain things have to be decided from the head coaching perspective, all right? Decisions have to be made in situational ways throughout the course of the season. The right decision is going to be made. He'll make the right decision. I don't like you, but you'll still make that right decision, and that's where the respect comes in. But I don't even see the respect from Jalen Hurts with that response.
And that's a problem, dude.
I think that is
a problem.
It's as clear as day.
It was a problem last year.
The only thing is, though,
first of all,
I really do need a guy with now in his 5th year in the NFL and 4th year as a full-time starter. I do need him to be considered more responsible for his growth and his preparation and everything than his coaches. Tom Brady went from Bill Belichick, who had very little to do with the offensive side of the ball. They both say it. They both talk about it.
Yeah.
Tom Brady didn't rely on Bill Belichick to coach him as a quarterback. I need Jalen Hurts to be more responsible for his performance. And I'm tired of hearing the platitudes of, we got to clean that up, got to work on it. When you never clean it up, there's a problem. There's a problem right now, and they've got a little bit of an issue.
All right. We have a special guest that has called.
I love this.
And again, now normally I'd say, "Come on, bro." I teased it for 9 o'clock.
Oh yeah,
but I'm trying to keep a peace treaty.
He may be
intact.
he may have been wanting to run. It's the other guy who doesn't run.
This is Ricky Batalico. Ricky, good morning.
Hi, Ricky.
Yeah. Good morning. You guys start up early in the morning. What do you want?
I'm going to ask the audience if an apology is in order, but because you're here, we will talk.
You're not getting an apology.
You don't even know what you did wrong yet. You don't even know what you guys did wrong yet.
I know, but I would never apologize.
I know you wouldn't, and that's why Tyrone is the guy that handles the peace treaty.
Yeah, well,
But Ricky, I want to play you a clip from your show. We don't have it. Okay, never mind.
Well.
It's a tough one, then. That's a tough one.
No, we do have audio confirmation of this.
Yes. Basically, I saw a clip, and I listened to it, and I sent it to our morning show here, where Tyrone was talking about how Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni need to find some sort of common ground, which is what we said before the season started, and we got attacked, which led to the war of the shows.
Yes.
And now Tyrone may see where we were coming from. I'm glad that we have a peace treaty.
I'm glad that we've, helped the best show ever get up to speed on this issue.
He said that.
I'm going to rip up the peace treaty. How about that?
I'm just wondering. We said this, and we were told this would not be a problem.
It's a problem, Ricky.
I think the problem stems that they don't have to be friends, okay?
Nobody's saying that they have to be friends.
We didn't say friends.
Do you have to be on some kind of a common footing? Yeah, I would think so.
Do you believe that they're on a common footing right now?
No.
Exactly.
That's an evil.
And that's what we needed fixed before the season
started. And that's
started.
why we said the offseason was the time to work on this and to get it right, and they never did.
Well, the offseason is the time to work on everything, but it doesn't seem like they did anything.
I think
it's the same team.
It is, isn't it?
Right now.
It looks that way.
Here's my issue. Do I think Jalen is going to get better? Yeah, I do. I think what he's talking about when he's talking about we got to find our identity, I think he's talking about having Devontae in there and having A.J. Brown in there on a daily basis.
Sure.
You get those. And by the way, a cure-all is coming after the bye week because if you don't beat up on the Browns, there's a problem.
All right, so you're with us there. We talked to Adam Schefter. He doesn't care about statement wins. Connor doesn't care about statement wins. I think they need to beat up the Browns for a lot of people, not just fans and media members, for the team to feel better about themselves.
Do you feel like they have looked any different than the last 7 games?
No. Except for wins.
That to me That to me is my biggest issue. They made some personnel changes, but it is kind of a run it back.
It looks.
It
is.
kind of a run it back.
It is.
And I mean, you brought. I think you made your defense maybe a little better at the linebacker position. Quinyon Mitchell's been good in the back end, but I mean, what do you have the exact same thing with the two big guys in the middle? You know, they show up big time in that game against the Saints, and then they're nowhere to be found against the Buccaneers. Bryce Huff is exactly who he is, and and you're missing Hassan Reddick badly.
All right.
You know what's funny is Brock.
There you go. There's your summary.
Brock Purdy didn't need. Brock Purdy has been missing a ton of talent this year.
Yeah, he's been good.
And he literally will just say, "We got it. Next guy up."
Jawan Jennings had 3 touchdowns a
great.
couple games ago.
Yeah, I mean, he's got to take care of business.
All right, Ricky, we're going to play the Tyrone clip at 9 o'clock, okay?
All right.
All
right, I'll listen in.
All right,
we
thanks,
still love
man.
you, Ricky.
We
of
love
course.
you, Ricky. I hope we can keep the peace.
Yeah, but I'm going to rip up the piece.
Oh,
No,
come
you're
on,
not.
man.
Not before Red October starts. Come on. All right, buddy.
All right, Ricky, we'll talk to you.
Yeah, I'm going to rip it up anyway.
Okay. Yeah, see you later. He doesn't want peace.
He likes turmoil.
I know he does. He likes
loves
stirring
turmoil.
the pot.
Yes.
Trust me. All right,
He
coming
was
up
taught
next.
by Jim Fergosi.
That's true.
Who was the minister of mayhem.
Coming up next, remember, I told you 24 hours ago we would be doing this. We do our NFL.com power ranking segment where we find out where the teams in the NFC East are. Of course, the Philadelphia Eagles, and we look through the top 10. Yesterday, I asked John and Connor where we think they would be. John said 15. Connor and I both said 9 or 10. Maybe the NFL doesn't put them outside of the top 10. I have not looked at it. I do it live. Bleep it. We'll do that next. Where are the Eagles? Where does the media believe the Eagles are? Find out next. Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Now, a Birds Insider Update.
Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic on this Wednesday morning. Connor, if you can, hit me up with a text on any of our topics today, and then I will go through the NFL.com power rankings. We will find out where the Eagles are in the eyes of the people that cover the NFL. And we'll see if any of our predictions were correct. But what do you have on the text line there, Connor?
All right, we have a lot of people checking in on the conversation about the Eagles and their dysfunction, everything going on that front. I think this was interesting. Ben from Bucks County says, part of being a coach is putting your players in the best situation to succeed. I think Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is a pretty good player, but I don't believe that Vic Fangio has put him in the best position to succeed as well as the rest of his defense. That's why our defense has not been that good, because our defensive coordinator, more likely than not, doesn't put our team.
Isn't he supposed to be really good with safeties?
It's an important position.
No. Like I'm saying, that's something
part of his
like
expertise.
Vic Fangio has been great with safeties in his career. Going back to Denver, last year Miami, like he
cultivates talent in the secondary. Yes,
safeties and linebackers.
Yeah, linebacker has always been a pivotal part of
So
his,
why is Zach Baum playing well and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is not? Chauncey Gardner-Johnson might just be having a bad season, which is okay. Like, it happens.
Well, a bad month.
A bad month, right.
That's all we can judge
I
this
want to
season
make
on.
sure.
No, I know. I'm not saying don't judge it. I'm saying
he's not.
bad
he's
season.
He's going to be fine. No, so far he's having a bad season.
He's only played 4
That
games
is-
in the
that is
season, and
factually
he's
correct.
having a bad season.
So far this
he's one of the
season.
worst ranked safeties in the NFL, and he's being wildly outplayed by Reed Blankenship.
Yeah, I'm not debating that, but just when we start to have when the term
so
even
far this season.
This
Connor.
season.
This season.
There's 4 games in the season. He's having a bad season.
All right, well, we got to understand, guys. We're having conversations about firing the head coach. If the quarterback is the franchise guy, what's going on if this team is dysfunctional? So if we're going to talk about guys in a small
I think you're the
sample
only
size-
person that read it that way.
I'm just saying, let's clarify, because there are some guys that we do not have faith in over the course of this entire season right now.
Correct, and I've said it a million times that I'm still a believer in Chauncey Gardner-Johnson,
So
and
am
I
I.
still love the signing.
Okay.
The signing.
We both loved the
I wish he
signing.
was here last year. I don't think some of the things happened last year. But so far, through 4 games, he has had a bad season. All right, NFL.com power rankings. So I like to give you all the division opponents or some of the opponents upcoming. So the next game for the Eagles, the Cleveland Browns, following the bye week, they're at number 28.
Yeah, they're bad.
So if you barely beat or don't beat the 28th ranked team in the NFL, I'm not going to be too happy.
And they play Washington this week.
Yes, they do.
So we're going to get a view of what they look like against the team that's leading the division.
Yep. Speaking of the NFC East, the Giants are at number 27. So Browns 28, Giants 27. Those are your next 2 teams that you're facing. Okay? You got to win some football games.
And style points matter.
Dallas Cowboys coming at number 17. The Commanders come in at number 7.
Okay, the Eagles are not ahead of the Commanders. Don't tell me they are.
No, they're not. I did that on purpose.
Okay. Because if you're saying, and the Cowboys number makes me think the Eagles numbers is I went too low.
The Eagles dropped 8 spots to 13.
Okay, I came close then.
You did.
I did come close.
Here's what they wrote about him. It wasn't shocking that the Eagles lost a tough road game without Lane Johnson, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. But it was a bit unnerving to see how it went down, which is what we've been trying to say all week.
Yes.
They showed a lack of life early on, falling behind 24-0. The Eagles rallied, and they absolutely had a chance to steal one after Keely Ringo's stirring return of a blocked extra point. But the defense took big steps back after a fine performance at New Orleans, allowing the Bucs to move the ball all game. Tampa had at least 1 first down on every single drive, and 29 of them for the game. Jalen Hurts' fumble late in the third quarter also prevented any hopes of a comeback. It was his only turnover of the game, but he's now up to 27 of them since the start of last season. Without Hurts displaying better ball security, a shorthanded Eagles squad isn't going to win many games. This will be a frustrating bye week, but they'll have the chance to get healthier and get back on track. But the Eagles, 13th.
Yay!
13th in the power rankings. By the way, number 1, most of the Thomas family will be happy.
Minnesota
They have
number
the
1,
Vikings at number 1, man.
And you guys would dispute that, right? By your
Damn right I would.
They're-
Screw the
come on.
Vikings.
Vikings won.
All right, coming up next, I mentioned it. Will there be an apology from the best show ever? Ricky said no, and he's ripping up the peace treaty, but that's just Ricky.
And Tyrone is always much more calm than. Well, wait a minute. Tyrone and Ricky, I don't know.
We'll play you the audio from the show yesterday, and maybe we'll get in touch with Tyrone Johnson, because this is what we warned people of. It's Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Salciunas on this Wednesday morning, 97.5 The Fanatic. Coming up at 9:10, we have our 5 best minutes of our conversation with Adam Schefter, who joins us every single Wednesday at 8 o'clock. And then we play the 5 best minutes at 9:10. So you'll hear from Shefty again, or for some of you the first time, in about 9 minutes. But we got to get into this. Is an apology necessary? I'm not demanding it. I want to ask the people for their insight. If an apology is necessary. I want to take you back to, I don't know, was it April or May? I guess it was OTAs, so
it was
would have been May.
OTAs. No, it was. It was April and May.
And remember, when OTAs came to an end, Jalen Hurts didn't give a ringing endorsement of his head coach, Nick Sirianni.
No, and twice at the end of the year, he refused to say anything.
Right. And then the story comes out from ESPN with Tim McManus and Jeremy Fowler that there was legitimate beef between head coach and quarterback. And again, as a refresher, we didn't pick a side. We said they both have to figure something out. Squash it before the season started. And we thought that they may have because Hurts cut off the question.
Yes.
You know, let me just get this out of the way. Didn't really say anything about Sirianni, but then there was a follow-up question, and then he finally said something about Nick. And we said, okay, we can finally put that to bed. We can go into the season. But before all that took place, there was a war between this show and the best show ever, who I respect and love dearly. And that's why I wanted peace. And if you remember, the peace came over J.J. Redick being hired by the Lakers. And Tyrone and I made it clear that if any Sixers fan was to root for the Lakers because, oh, J.J. likes it here.
By the way, the fact that J.J. got a standing ovation here
was embarrassing.
Make me vomit in my mouth.
It made me sick because
J.J.
he
Redick
stabbed the Sixers in the back.
He did. And more importantly, what did they ever freaking accomplish?
Right.
For God's sake.
So that's what led to the peace treaty between the shows. But it all started when we said that Hurts and Sirianni needed to squash the beef. And we got pushback from the best show ever. Now, recently as yesterday, I was watching the best show ever. And
it's a good choice on your part.
And I sent this to you guys because I said, whoa, hold on a second.
Wait a minute.
Here was Tyrone yesterday talking about Hurts and Sirianni.
What I want is Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni to have a good, positive relationship. I don't need Jalen Hurts to fake like he has a good, positive relationship. I need it to be good, to be fixed. I just want it to, how about this? How about in real life, Nick and him actually get on the same page?
Go out to dinner.
Do something to actually be on the same page. Do that for real, rather than for
I don't know how broken this is.
We know it might be very fixable for all we know.
Yeah, you would hope so.
Might be fixable. They're very different people, but it would be nice if it was actually fixed rather than fake.
I just wonder if an apology is necessary.
I would say that...
I'm not demanding it. I'm just wondering.
But I would say that that's exactly what we were saying. That is exactly what we were saying, and we were getting scolded for.
It led to a beef.
And it was very reasonable, the response there from Tyrone. It was very reasonable and very smart. I think it's a smart opinion to have.
Well,
and he's got a lot to say.
He's got Tyrone Johnson. He has plenty to say.
Well, then let's let him speak for himself.
And again, real quick before we bring him up, he was amazing at FanFest.
Oh,
Tyrone.
he was the greatest showman at FanFest.
Tyrone, good morning.
Good morning, fellas. I hope you guys are having a great day so far.
We hope that you're having a great day. We hope that Ricky's having a great day, but Ricky wants to rip up the peace treaty already. He didn't even hear us out.
Yeah, he gets very, he got confused. Connor's in large part the cause of it.
Okay, tell us why. We love this. If you're ganging up on Connor, we're all here for it.
Well, he just feels like Connor is a bit of a troublemaker.
He's a stir-the-pot guy, you think?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So he feels like that it's never really peaceful because Connor's just waiting in the wings, ready to instigate.
That's true. I am sitting back here causing problems.
So the beef, so there is an underlying beef between Ricky and Connor, but as family, we try to control Connor. You try to control Ricky as much as you can when it comes to their own individual beef. But as a show, a meeting amongst families, we're trying to keep an overall peace. And I hear that clip yesterday, and I go, oh, hold on a second. This is what started it all from the beginning.
Right, because the timing. What you guys have, in my opinion, what you guys got wrong was the timing. I don't need these guys to be in there getting along necessarily in the off season because I don't even want them to be around each other that much in the off season. Sirianni has nothing to add. But once the season starts, they got to figure out a way to actually get along.
But we wanted it to be squashed before so that this
way they don't have to do
conversation
this.
never happens.
No. It can't get squashed before because it's too easy to be peaceful with somebody when things are going well. It's too easy. You know how nice it is to be nice to you guys when we don't disagree? It's super easy, okay? It only gets difficult when something difficult happens.
But nothing was...
Therefore, you can't simulate that in the offseason. That has to happen in real time.
But couldn't they have figured out before the season started, hey, listen, we had our differences last year. We got to try to figure out how we can work together this season so that if there are tough times, we don't spiral out of control.
In theory, like in a movie. But I feel like in real life, not really. No, I really don't. I think that the only time you can really, especially with a guy who's like these two personalities that are that different,
yes,
a lot of things are easy on paper. I think that the only way for them to actually get along for real was for something like this to happen and then actually find a way to get along with Sirianni's weirdness and the stoicism from Jalen Hurts. Because that's what this combination is. You can just tell the way Sirianni speaks, when we roll our eyes, not necessarily at the content, at the delivery of what he says, I guarantee you.
Sometimes at the content, too, if I'm being honest with you.
Well, you guys have also got upset with the content, but it's sometimes...
When he's talking about not having an identity, like, I don't know the strengths and weaknesses of this football team after a month. I roll my eyes at that.
And he's quoting a Little League baseball coach.
Right.
I mean, that kind of stuff is out of control.
To Coach Dan.
Right. So what I'm saying is, in the off season, you can pretend like him, Reed, and Barry had a little lamb would be cool. But once you hear it in the locker room, it's probably difficult. So where we disagree, because I think we want the same things, is I think some of this stuff just has to naturally play itself out in real life. And I don't think it's that easy to do when things are peaceful. Sometimes you have to have the peace treaty when there's not peace. It's easy to write a treaty when everybody gets along.
Oh,
And
exactly. And that's why I'm trying to get to this ahead of time before things blow up. Just like Hurts and Sirianni should have gotten ahead of it before things blew up 4 weeks into the freaking season.
It's unbelievable.
No, it is unbelievable, but so far, both are at fault.
Yes.
And nobody right now has the upper hand. Right now, we're frustrated with the way Jalen Hurts has played, but I'm also frustrated in the way that Sirianni has coached. So when neither guy has a leg to stand on, I think it becomes that much tougher because you're asking guys, even Sirianni, guys with egos, to one admit that they're wrong because they're both wrong.
So we all agree that the golf cart was totally staged when they.
I mean, look.
Of course. And that's the phony part. And then as soon as something bad happened, i.e., you lose A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Lane Johnson, the moment that happens, then look at them right back to the same old, same old. That's how it's going to be.
The one thing I would say is this, is at some point, I need Jalen Hurts to step up. I got to tell you, Tyrone, you've been around this town enough. You've been a fan for so long. If Ron Jaworski and Randall Cunningham and Carson Wentz and Donovan McNabb were driving around in a car, listening to fans blindly calling in, always absolving Jalen Hurts of blame, what do you think they're saying?
It's actually downright disrespectful to the guys that have passed, to be honest with you.
Oh, yeah.
It's disrespectful to them because all of a sudden we're treating him far different than we have these other quarterbacks. And I get why some people want to do it, especially, and I'll just put it out there, there's also a racial component to this right now that I recognize and I must recognize where people will call me a sellout for just being honest. This is obviously something that's isolated to my side due to the geopolitical things of this city. But the bottom line is he has to find a way to win some of these tougher games. He didn't do it down the stretch, and he didn't do it on Sunday, and it's okay to point that out. We've seen it with other guys finding a way. And one of the ways you find a way is sometimes it's okay to just punt and not turn the ball over. Sometimes it's okay to kick the field goal and not turn the ball over. Sometimes it's okay to just find a way to get along with not necessarily your head coach, but get on the same page with your offensive coordinator so no one notices. Because I know there was times where him and Andy Reid, especially later on, had real beef, and they still made it to the NFC Championship game as a 97 squad because they got it together when it mattered, and that's the part that seems to be missing with him so far. And I think it's because, as weird as Sirianni is and how it's hard to relate to him, Hurts also seems to be difficult to relate to and to execute in his own way, because it's hard for, I think, people to be on all the time the way he's on all the time.
Right. Okay.
Good job.
Now, Tyrone, while we still have you, and again, I want to keep the peace. We're just
we're going to align with you, and you can handle Ricky.
But we'll let the townspeople can chime in here about the the apology and whether or not it's necessary. But I want to bring this up because we talked about this, and John and I had this planned for today, if and only if the Mets won Game 1 yesterday, which they did.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
You know there's tickets available, and you know that Mets fans will start buying them now.
Yeah.
We gotta again, this is why we have peace. We gotta come together for the greater good and make sure the Philadelphia entrepreneurs are not selling away their tickets just to make a payday when you know the Mets fans will buy them.
Because, Tyrone, I got to tell you, one of our own internal staff, and I will not give out their name, not to shame them, has tickets to Game 2 that they're looking to sell, and they just talked about selling them to a friend for a profit, raising the price over the face value.
For a friend?
And Andrew and I scolded this.
Yeah, you can't do that.
Well, see, this is the problem. You see, this is part of the problem. You know, I don't miss the vet in many ways, but the vet fans cared a lot more.
Oh, yeah.
These are country club fans that don't really care. These are country club fans that don't really care. How about you go to the game because you want to watch your team in the playoffs? What is this? You want to make a profit right now, so just in case there's games later. What if there aren't games later?
Didn't we just see this in the spring with the Sixers and the Knicks?
We just saw this, this is an example of, again, these are the best fans in the world, but they're not perfect. No fan base is perfect, just like none of us are perfect. And the biggest flaw right now is these fans, one, they're doing it out of fear. Oh, I don't want to be there if they lose because I'm so afraid of the Mets because they only won 95 games, and most of my lifetime they always suck. So now 95 games isn't good enough for me, you loser. And then the other part is, let's make a bunch of money. Like I've just said, if you're 40 years old, if you're 44 years old, the Phillies were good one time from the time I was started watching, when I started kindergarten.
Yep.
The Phillies were good one time between my kindergarten and my adulthood. They were good one time. Now all of a sudden, they've only won 95 games. I'm scared to death of the Mets beating us. You losers. And then to get money for it, why don't you go to the game because you want to watch the Phillies in the postseason? If John, you went through this with the Phillies, it's tough times. Like if you're a certain age, this is everything we've ever wanted.
This is what we want.
We had a tweet from a guy named Bruce, Tyrone. Bruce G. If I had tickets, I would resell them at a huge market because it's not my problem the Phillies can't hit. Give me that money.
Get hit. You want to get hit? What about when Brian Hayes was the best player? What about when Danny Tarnable was the Bryce Harper signing because it was the best free agent signed in 10 years? What about all those years when we scratched and clawed and talked our way into maybe they could be the wild card because the Braves are automatically going to win the division? What are you talking about? This is as good as it's ever been. This is as good as it's ever been. I'm not saying it's a guarantee that they're going to win the World Series. Obviously, last year hurt, but this is as good as it's ever been. If you're selling your tickets now, that means you're not a Phillies fan for real. Go away, and trust me, there will be people in Philadelphia who are ready to replace you. Don't sell them to Mets fans.
See,
I imagine this will be brought back up around 2 o'clock today.
And the fans, Tyrone, you brought up a great thing there. And Connor and I talked about earlier. Yesterday in Baltimore, fans sitting on their hands in a tight game because they're scared. They're scared because they lost last year. I don't understand the concept of going to a playoff game. And I'm so scared I'm just going to sit on my hands and not make noise because I'm nervous. Oh, my gosh. This fan base has changed. This fan base has softened up, Charmin soft.
Or they're looking at the money before their own fandom.
It's unbelievable.
It's unbelievable. If you trust me, if you can afford playoff tickets, you're good.
Amen.
Exactly.
Fans out there would die to go to this game who didn't go to any games this year because they got 2 kids and they can't afford with parking and concessions to bring a family of 4. There's a lot of people out there. You got to remember those people. Those people are just as real as these other fans who can afford it. You're not better than anybody because you can afford tickets and you choose to sell them. You're less than those people because other fans would love to be there.
Damn right, Tyrone. All right, man. We'll be listening today at 2 o'clock.
Thanks,
Keep up the
Tyrone.
great work.
See you, buddy.
Appreciate
There's
you.
Tyrone Johnson. All right.
That was perfectly stated.
It was. All right. Here's our 5 best minutes from earlier today of the great Adam Schefter. From ESPN, the great Adam Schefter joins us. Shefty, good morning.
Good morning, guys. Who was upset with the media? Which player?
So Darius Slay, and we're going to get into this with you. Darius Slay was on Micah Parsons' podcast the other day, and they started talking about Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, who was having a beef with Micah Parsons. So kind of a weird look for Darius Slay to go on the podcast when those two players were actively beefing. And then Darius Slay took to social media afterward when he got crushed for it, and he said fans and the media are overblowing it. And I don't know if that's true when Chauncey Gardner-Johnson then went to social media and made it clear he wasn't necessarily thrilled about it.
And on the podcast, he said, when you're going to do all that talking, eventually you got to back it up. That's garbage.
So Darius Slay said that on the podcast about his team.
About Chauncey Gardner-Johnson.
Yeah.
And he said this on the podcast of Micah Parsons.
On Micah Parsons' process.
Who was saying that Chauncey Gardner-Johnson had not been playing well. So basically, Darius Slay sided with Parsons. Like it's a messy situation from afar, Shefty.
Yeah, I don't think that's the wisest course of action. Again, I mean, it's amazing, what people do these days. And, I'm sure Darius doesn't see it, but if he took a step back and he had Chauncey Gardner-Johnson go on Micah's podcast and talk about him, he probably wouldn't have been very happy about it, right? So I go back to what I told my daughter when she was born, like treat people the way you want to be treated. Would Darius Slay want to be treated like that? Pretty simple. I would say, my guess is no. Maybe he wouldn't. He's going to say he wouldn't mind it, but again, I don't think that's necessarily the right thing to do.
I'm a little surprised, Adam, at the effort on Sunday, and effort was being even used by coaches and players alike. It's unacceptable the way this team's playing right now, and to get dominated by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers like that. How eye-opening do you think that is across the league, and maybe the people you speak to, about how the Eagles are playing right now?
I think what was a little eye-opening was just the ease at which they had with the Eagles that day, offensively, defensively. Like, they did whatever they wanted to do that day. And, Philadelphia has been missing its wide receivers. It's a tough spot. They haven't started fast. When you don't start fast, you fall behind. There's a whole litany of reasons and excuses we could give as to why they looked the way they did. The fact of the matter is they played 4 games. They're 2-2, right? They're 2-2?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And it could have been better. It could have been worse, but they're 2-2 for a reason. And they've been an average football team through the first 4 weeks. That's what it is, and there's a lot of work to get done.
I know you don't win a Super Bowl on paper, right? So the whole on-paper conversation, we talk about the roster and how talented they are, we won't find that out until they actually play. But I don't think the Eagles have played anywhere close to what we expect them. Even in the games that they won, the New Orleans game, the offense did not look good. So who does that ultimately fall on, right? They're 2-2, and I don't feel supremely confident about a team that we had winning the division and winning around 11 or 12 games.
No, and I wouldn't feel confident about them right now either. They have a lot of work to do, as we talked about. But again, it's October 2nd. They're on their bye, an early bye, which I don't love, but they're on their bye. And there's a lot of football left, a lot of roller coaster ride left. And there's plenty of time to get this turned around, plenty of time. And there's plenty of time for them to separate themselves, differentiate themselves, and then pull ahead in that division. And if they do that, then great. And if they don't, then obviously then they're going to have to figure out what it's going to take to get there. Again, I'm not hitting a panic button yet, but there are alarming signs.
When you talk about there being plenty of time, and I understand it's true, last year we kept hearing that during the 1-7 slide down the stretch, that, there's plenty of time, they'll work this out, they'll pull out of the nosedive. Do you feel differently about this team because of the coordinators? Do you feel differently this time around because they've got Saquon Barkley? Like, what would give you optimism? Because I think people are looking for some optimism.
Well, I'll give you some optimism. The optimism is that they played the last 2 games without A.J. Brown. They played the last game without Devontae Smith. When you're playing a game without both those guys, then that's going to be an enormously challenging environment to play in. They've played 2 road games, 2 tough road games in New Orleans and Tampa. And again, I come back to this. They won the game in New Orleans to their credit. They deserved in the end to win, but that was always going to be a tough place to win. I don't care they didn't play great. They won the game. That's all that matters. Because if they had lost that game and they're in the bye at 1-3, coming off 3 straight losses, forget about it. That to me was the nightmare scenario, and they avoided that. So it's 2-2. You start over. You're 500. You come back. I presume that when they get back, A.J. Brown's going to be back. I presume that when they get back, Devontae Smith is going to be back. I presume that when they get back, Lane Johnson's going to be back. Like, their guys are back, and you would hope and think that their brand of football will be back and that they could start ripping off some wins and stacking them up. That's the hope. Now, we'll see whether or not they can do it. The team has looked a little discombobulated to me at times here. So, and maybe that's to be expected with 2 new coordinators and you have to kind of work these things out, but they were not as impressive through the 4 games as you would like to think that they would have been.
All right, Shefty, last thing for you. We appreciate your time as always. The seat, how warm is it for Sirianni?
I don't know that it's any warmer now than it was at the end of the year. I think everybody always felt like this year, this team had to play well. They had to have a strong season. Otherwise, this organization was going to have to evaluate everything and make some tough decisions. I don't know that it's gotten any warmer or less warm. Like, is there anything different? Do you feel the seat is warmer now because of this?
Yes, decidedly.
Well, and I was not in favor of him coming back. John was. And so John is now.
I'm ready to join the cult because I cannot trust him on game day.
Yeah, well, listen, again, he's going to have 13 games to state his case. So, the 13 games to tell you that he deserves to stay, he belongs, and that he's the right man for the job.
All right, there's our 5 best minutes of Adam Schefter. Coming up next, more of your text messages, but I want to bring up something Phillies related. Because Dave Dombrowski spoke to the media yesterday. He talked about, the concerns of having the layoff before your first round matchup. But he also said something that may be true, but something you might not want to hear before the playoffs.
Oh, no.
No, it's not something like bad about the team. It's just, I don't want to hear this from Dave Dombrowski, even though it's true.
All right.
We'll talk about it. You'll understand coming up next. It's Kincade and Salciunas on this Wednesday morning, 97.5 The Fanatic.
The final hour of Kincade and Salciunas is presented to you by The Bagster. It's a dumpster in a bag. You can get yours today at Home Depot and Lowe's. You need details? Go to Bagster.com.
It is 9:32 on Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. We'll get back to our texts on our conversations in a few minutes. But Dave Dombrowski spoke to the media yesterday, John. And it was fascinating stuff, right? One of the questions was, is there one aspect of your team's performance down the stretch that's concerned you? And he responded by saying, quote, even when we come back from an all-star break, I'm always more concerned about our offense getting going. Guys have days off. We're routine-oriented. So he obviously talked about the layoff potentially hampering the offense.
Legitimate concern.
Yeah, and he talked about what they've been doing. They've been using high-volume velocity machines and curveball machines and blah, blah, blah.
Gabe Kapler would be proud.
Oh, he would be. He was asked about the 5 days off that may benefit the pitching, and he did, right? He talked about that. But here's a question that a fair question, but an answer I didn't necessarily like hearing, even though he's not wrong.
Okay.
The question is, this is your third straight year, and I'm reading all this stuff from NBC Sports Philadelphia to give them proper credit. This is your third straight year in the playoffs. Do you feel any sense of urgency knowing that you only get so many chances at this? Which I think is a great question.
I think it's a great question.
And here's the answer. No.
Oh, boy.
I don't. First of all,
oh, boy.
I don't feel like our window's closing. I keep hearing that, but I think what happens is sometimes it closes with the current players you have, but that doesn't mean it closes overall. We have young players coming we really like. We also have ownership that's very kind to us with our expenditures on payroll. So what you're ideally trying to do, as some players age, some of their skills diminish, that's just a fact. Some at different paces, but what you need to do is have young players come in the meantime. And we think we have some really good young players coming in. So I don't think the window for the Phillies is closing, but you always have some limitation on the current team you have. So he's not wrong in everything that he said.
No, he's not wrong, but there's a lot of wishing and hoping in that.
I just don't want to hear it.
And and you don't start laying that groundwork before the postseason. Like,
now he's got to answer the question.
No, but you
right?
know what his answer should be? Yeah, damn right we're urgent.
There's always a sense of urgency or something like that.
We have knocked on the door the last 2 years, and our fan base has been there. They've been crazy, and they've been awesome, and they've been packing the stadium. Yeah, you're right. You're not going to get as many. Everything breaks your way. A division championship rarely happens here.
Yeah.
We're gonna take advantage of this. We rarely get a bye because we've been also rans in our division, despite our payroll. I didn't like that answer. I'm surprised at that answer.
He's right in what he said.
And I love Dave Dombrowski.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, dude.
I am a huge believer
fan,
in what he does. But I don't like that answer at all.
He's not wrong in what he said, but again, right before the playoffs, Connor, your input on this, Mr. Locked On Phillies podcast.
You know where I'm going to stand on this. That doesn't bother me remotely. I completely agree with what he's saying there.
Of course.
The other thing, he's not the manager, right?
Right.
He's the president of baseball operations. He's not doing anything in the postseason.
And what
he'll just be in his box.
Well, hold on a second. We don't know if that's true.
Well, okay, but all right.
The Christopher Sanchez.
No. Slow down. As far as this conversation is concerned, he's not doing anything in the postseason. It's not like he doesn't care about them winning.
Of course. He wants them to win.
What are we worried about right now?
Well,
I get the mindset of you want to put as much emphasis on this postseason as possible. I don't think there's anyone in that clubhouse that has any doubt that they have urgency to win. I think his argument is, from a standpoint of a president of baseball operations looking at the organization, hey, this ain't our last look. And even though we want to win it this year, I'm not going to pretend like we're burning the boats this year. This is all we have. So if we don't get it done next year, we're out of chances.
Right. No. And even if they, God forbid, lose in the NLDS, it's a failure for this season. That doesn't mean the future is not right.
But it's the third step back for this group.
Right,
okay.
But you know that they're going to make changes.
You're moving further away from a title. If they lose in the NLDS,
it's horrible.
Yeah, it would be miserable.
It's ridiculous.
No, I'm just saying that doesn't mean that the window's closed next year, though.
No, exactly. To go do what though?
To
be
try
one of the
to
be
get back.
one of the best teams, or to say there's no urgency. Have urgency. The way the manager manages is not urgent. Now, some of that is they put him in handcuffs.
Well, I think that's also regular season. Let's see how they manage in the playoffs.
We'll see.
Now, there was another question, and his answer kind of goes against the previous answer.
Okay.
How difficult is it to have come all this way knowing that it could all end because of one bad hop, one bad pitch, or one circumstance beyond your control. And he says, unfortunately, that's just the way it is. You prepare, you do everything you possibly can. I feel totally confident our guys will be as prepared as they can possibly be, fundamentally, pitching-wise, hitting-wise, but you never know what you're going to run into. That's just how the game goes. And he talks about postseasons in the past. He talked about the Marlins winning the World Series in 97, and then that's it. And then 2003, it's a whole new roster, and they win a World Series, but that's it. But he continues and says, quote, it's unsettling. Your stomach gurgles a little bit more because you realize at any time a bloop base hit falls in there against you that it could cost you. It's so unpredictable. And from a fan's perspective, I think that's part of the fun of the postseason atmosphere.
Sure, fun.
Yeah.
Now, you're one of those people, though, Connor. You're like, you don't necessarily find it fun.
No, I find the postseason miserable.
See, now, we were talking about that earlier.
Yeah.
My wife, who's a big Phillies fan now, huge, just for like 3 years running. She's like a newer fan. She's already said, I can't handle.
Yeah, she's gonna have fun when they hoist the trophy.
I can't handle going to a game. I said to her, I said, honey, I got tickets. You want to go to a game? Nope. I said, really? She's enjoyed going. She went to 3 games this year. She loves it. She's like, nope.
Yeah.
Don't want to go.
So
it'd be too stressful.
So the last sentence, and this is where he kind of goes against what he said earlier. Look at last year. You never would have thought coming back home for games 6 and 7 of the NLCS that we would have lost. I thought we were going to win at that point, but Arizona beat us and they deserved it. So that kind of goes against.
It does.
Like, he's not wrong in saying that the window isn't closed after this year, but he knows that it's unpredictable.
Yeah, exactly, dude. You're in a poker game and you're head-to-head with somebody and you have pocket aces and you could feel as good about pocket aces as you want. But as soon as you go all in, you're at the mercy of the cards. You have a good hand, but you don't know what the hand the other person's going to play is. And you don't know what the cards on the table are. And that's why it's a crapshoot. You can have as good of hand as possible. And I think the Phillies have a pretty damn good hand.
Right they do.
But until those cards are flipped, you're always going to be nervous that a straight or a flush or a full house is coming out the other way.
Here's the only bad thing with that analogy. Did I, sitting at the blackjack table, I am a methodical blackjack player.
Well, it's poker.
I do the same things all the time. Poker, you can use the same analogy. Did I do something wrong to screw up my hand? Did I do something wrong? Did I choose to hit on 12 when I shouldn't have? Or should I have, did I not read the table correctly? There is a lot of things that go into it where it's not just what someone else does at the table.
Well, yeah, it's
what
obviously
you do, and I think there has been some mismanagement the last 2 years that has led to them self-destructing.
Obviously, it's simplifying it. There's things you do over the course of a game that help you win or lose. But ultimately, from Dave Dombrowski's perspective, he can put the best hand on the table possible, and that's up to the players to play and the manager to manage.
And a coach and his manager and his players can misplay the hand that he dealt them.
They can, but you have to believe in the talent level of the players. And at this point, if you don't believe in the talent level of the Phillies, you shouldn't believe in any team in baseball.
Yep.
Right. All right, what do we got in the text line there, Connor, on any of our topics today?
That's a great question. Let me go ahead and pull it up. I was in the middle of this whole long-winded point, which might indicate my phone is not up. Okay, so we have a check-in here. No name on this one, but it was someone who called in earlier on the whole, is media creating this conversation? It goes back to the Darius Slade, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson thing.
He said he called in earlier? So was this Jerry?
Called in but couldn't stay on the line.
Oh, okay.
I wouldn't be answering a text for someone who already was on. It says, I think it's a bit hypocritical and overblown by the media. Slay has always been about accountability. That's what he's doing right now. He's holding Chauncey Gardner-Johnson accountable. Think of it this way. Are we more upset by what he said or that he said it on Micah Parsons' podcast?
I said the podcast thing.
Wait a minute.
Being honest with you.
Wait a minute. That's the dumbest point I've ever heard. That is accountability.
Oh, man.
What? Where was him on the Chauncey Gardner? Him talking about Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Lead with all the crappy play that you trotted out there on Sunday. Lead with all of the dumb mistakes that you made, you scored out as one of the worst corners in the NFL last week.
He wasn't asked. He was asked about the trash talking.
No, if you're talking about accountability, Slay's always about accountability. No, he's not. He's had one of the worst performances of his career, and he's decided to cite his resume.
I think there's a line that you have to not cross when it's answering every question by saying, I stunk. Like, there are some questions that are not going to lead with.
He didn't lead with accountability. He led with cover his ass. That's
with
ridiculous.
The resume. But yeah, no, my biggest thing, to the texter's point, yes, I had more of a problem with him being on the podcast than what he said. Because Micah Parsons, again, NFL locker rooms are a brotherhood, right? You want to try to keep that as intact as possible.
You think he got some fist bumps from his Cowboy teammates for this being created?
Yeah, you can't do that.
He absolutely did.
All right, we got the Key 3 coming your way next. It's Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Mike Missanelli.
What kind of a guy was he in the clubhouse?
647 on Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. We got the Mike Missanelli Show coming your way at 10 o'clock with Bill Colarulo and the great Ray Dunn, who we just saw during the commercial break.
Gotta love Ray Dunn.
Damn right, man. I told Ray about our watch party on Saturday. Again, if you're looking for something to do for the Phillies game, Connor and I are hosting a watch party this Saturday at the Uptown Beer Garden on JFK Boulevard.
Do not wear the shirt, Connor.
Well, they didn't win, so I can't.
Yeah, he'll wear it Sunday.
I will wear it
Sunday.
Saturday.
Okay.
But I told Ray about it because Ray came to basically all the watch parties last year. He was so team-oriented coming to the Fanatic watch parties. It had nothing to do with the buckets of Corona. He just wanted to support the radio station.
Certainly not.
I think Ray will be supporting the radio station on Saturday, Connor.
I love seeing our clients.
That'd be great.
I love seeing our clients support, but the Fan Fest reinforces it, though. The people who listen to the radio station, they love getting the chance to hang out. We love just as much.
Yeah.
Getting the chance to hang out, get a chance to see people. Names with faces is great.
Oh, it's great.
We had it with Antoine yesterday.
Damn right we did.
Now I know who Antoine is. When I see it, I see a face.
Yep. So hang out with me, Connor, and Ray on Saturday as Ray supports the radio station. It's time now for the Kincade Salciunas Key 3 presented by Von C.
Now, the Kincade and Salciunas Key 3. Today's best.
Not even 72 hours since the Eagles game came to an end when they lost to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And we have had Darius Slay on social media tweeting his resume and then protecting his tweets and then going on the podcast of a player from the mortal enemy, Micah Parsons and the Dallas Cowboys. We've had Jalen Hurts give another poor answer about his sort of communication process with Nick Sirianni. And then Darius Slay continues to talk about everything that happened, and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson posts on his Instagram, one word, damn, because Darius Slay on Micah Parsons' podcast was talking about Chauncey Gardner-Johnson.
Disrespecting, mocking.
His teammate.
And to me, chump move. A chump move.
You don't have to do the podcast, Darius. Like, you don't have to do your podcast, Micah Parsons' podcast. You don't have to do anybody's podcast. It's one thing if he was on a podcast where there was no beef. No, he went on a podcast with Micah Parsons, who was beefing with Chauncey Gardner-Johnson leading up to the Buccaneers game. They were having back and forth Instagram lives, ripping each other. And then you go on his podcast and you start talking ish. But you were talking ish. And then Chauncey Gardner-Johnson goes on Instagram and posts, damn.
Here's what I'm saying to you. The dysfunction that you thought this team may be at on Sunday. Is there anything to make you feel better today? No. It's all been worse.
It's only gotten worse.
It's getting worse because it's a rudderless ship with no veteran leadership, no head coach that can control a room.
You better not sell your tickets. You better not sell your tickets. And when I say you better not sell your tickets, we're talking about what could be on Saturday and Sunday, games 1 and 2 of the NLDS, where the Phillies take on the New York Mets.
It's Met fans, and I said it to you yesterday.
When you told it to me, I said, you know, I didn't even think about it.
The most embarrassing spectacle, potentially, of my entire fandom as a Philly fan was the Sixers-Knicks series this spring.
When it sounded like the Wells Fargo Center was Madison Square Garden.
It was embarrassing.
And man, I can't see that in an NLDS where we pride ourselves on Red October and Citizens Bank Park being an insane asylum, which is what a lot of people compare it to. I better not see a lot of blue and orange. So what then comes of this is, stop overreacting. The media is trying to drum some stuff up.
Oh, yes.
That's what always leads to this conversation. And so we want to actually have a legitimate discussion on this. Does Darius Slay or does any fan who has that belief actually have some, gumption to their belief that it is the media's fault, that we overblow things? I could tell you right away, we're not overblowing it when I see Chauncey Gardner-Johnson himself react to Darius Slay going on Micah Parsons' podcast and talking about Chauncey Gardner-Johnson after Micah Parsons and CJ just had a beef.
If you're Darius Slay or you're Darius and you're Chauncey Gardner-Johnson or wherever, and you give a damn what I say about your football team, then you're in the wrong business.
From ESPN, the great Adam Schefter joins us. Shefty, good morning.
Plenty of time to get this turned around. Plenty of time. And there's plenty of time for them to separate themselves, differentiate themselves, and then pull ahead in that division. And if they do that, then great. And if they don't, then obviously then they're going to have to figure out what it's going to take to get there. Again, I'm not hitting a panic button yet, but there are alarming signs.
Do you think there's something to this where we're reaching a boiling point with the Philadelphia Eagles? Now that more days have gone on since the loss to the Buccaneers, and there's only been more drama coming from the Eagles. Nobody's making this stuff up. Like, there's drama that is being made from the players themselves. Do you believe they're kind of at a boiling point right now? Or do you believe we're making too much of it? And do you believe that we're overblowing it and that it is our fault?
They provided the content.
Right, exactly.
Without them, none of this exists.
We didn't throw a dart at the 53-man roster and it land on Darius Slay and say, all right, let's see, is Darius Slay a good teammate or not, 6-1-0? Like, no.
Right.
Darius Slay did the podcast. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson reacted to said podcast.
And it's embarrassing to me for an organization that is a really good organization.
Yes.
And it's embarrassing to me that this is going on. To me, Slay has run his course.
All right, that's the Kincade Salciunas Key 3, the 3 best minutes from today's show, presented by our friends at Von C. Brewing Company. Make sure you check them out in Norristown, Von C. Brewing Company. Their website, of course, voncbrewing.com.
Von C!
What's their Key 3 right now, John?
Oh, I mean, it's amazing what they've got right now. You couldn't even believe it. They've got the Berliner Weiss, the Fest beer, and the Von C. Oktoberfest Marzen. My personal favorite. It's like a Munich malt, a love letter. You taste it on your lips and your tongue.
Every day I question why people wanted to hear that at FanFest.
I have no idea.
Like every day we get further and further removed from FanFest. I wonder why people wanted it.
But I don't question why people want to drink the beer.
Yes,
oh, no,
damn right. That's good work by you,
Real
Connor.
quick, by the way, guys, I don't think you guys know this. Today's my 5-year anniversary here at the Fanatic. I just want to say thank you to everyone who helped me along the way.
Congratulations,
Appreciate y'all. Y'all
man.
know who you are.
Connor?
5 years.
I would say this about your career here. You've helped yourself.
Damn right, man.
I need to help myself some more if I'm stuck with you two.
Well, that is the truth.
Now,
I checked the fine print.
Today's your 5-year anniversary with the station. Tomorrow
Don't say it.
is your 30-year anniversary on this planet.
Birthday.
Big day for Connor Thomas.
Yeah, it is.
Big birthday guy, Connor.
End the show. Come on.
All right, everybody have a great rest of your
Support
day.
life-saving cancer research. Join us in our generous partner, Window Nation, and make a donation to the American Association for Cancer Research. Could you do it for us at 975thefanatic.com/AACR, because cancer research saves lives. Connor's birthday tomorrow.
We'll be back at it tomorrow morning, but the Mike Missanelli Show comes your way next with Bill Colarulo and Ray Dunn. Talk to you tomorrow right here, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
The Phils know their time for first pitch. I'm Connor Thomas, and this update is brought to you by the Garden Med Spa. Guys, buy your football widow a gift card from the Garden Med Spa locations in Voorhees, Collingswood, Northfield, and